Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan, bringing you another round of Kaniki Answer Me, and today is all about Antonio's press conference. Is it a slow news day and they're blowing it up into something bigger than what it is, or is there cause to be concerned? And we will get to the bottom of that today. But yes, your big man is back. He is back, baby. And I'm absolutely loving the life. But of course, we are joined by co-host Jack Kaniki, who has done an absolute tremendous job in my absence. What a guy. Everybody give props up to the Kaniki. And of course, we are joined by James from Spurs Related and Sam from Paxton Road. Jack, how are you keeping, my man?
Delighted to see that you're back, Dave. Delighted to see that, nothing can knock you down. Miraculous recovery, considering, what you sounded like over the phone yesterday. Good to have you back in full voice and full force. Good to see what the Harris Army has to say regarding these Conte news. I don't know there are certain parts I'm honestly going to need their help on, Dave, because there are certain things that just can't really make sense of that Conte said. Looking forward to it, Dave. Really going to break a lot of things down.
No, we definitely are. Look, Lemsip, Jack, that's the key, just whack a good few of them into you. It doesn't matter how much they tell you to take. Just take whatever you feel like you need, and away you go. Shane from Paxton Road, how are you keeping, my man?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Very well, very well. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of days. Certainly, obviously, after the release of the news, and then we've got the game on Saturday. And yes, long live the Spurs turmoil.
Yeah, long live it for sure. And James, my man from Spurs Related, how are you keeping, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, Dave and Jack. Pleasure to be on here as always. Always great coming on here. Great panel as well. Got Shaney Boy as well. Absolutely fantastic. And just wondering if I'm going to get blown away tomorrow by this storm that's coming in England. Hopefully I get blown away before Saturday so I don't have to watch it. But let's see.
Do you know what, lad? They said we were due a storm tonight. It was more windier last night than what it is tonight. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think they're 24 hours late, lad. But
There's two storms. Doris and Ernie or something. I've got that wrong, but it's like D&E.
No, Storm Harris, lad. Storm Harris coming right through YouTube like a whirlwind. But look, we'll see what Harris Army are in the building to join us. We have Georgie Hill. He says, how many world-class managers does this board need to chew up and spit out before fans realize the managers aren't the problem? Can feel my blood pressure skyrocketing already. No, 100%. I sent out a tweet yesterday. I was like, yeah, look, it's not 7 years of Dyer, 8 years of Davies, 6 years of Winks. It's all the manager's fault. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm absolutely sick of it, George. I could not agree more with you, my man. Moondog says, a very good evening, guys. Big up, Moondog. I hope you're keeping well, brother. I hope you're keeping well. And I haven't forgot, I will email you back. Also says, big up, I think Conte is upset with not getting Traore and Diaz or two more of that ilk. He's been saying the same thing since he got here, really, and he's right. Yeah, look, he seems to be disappointed with the transfer window. But look, we'll break it down in a few minutes. Lee the Yid says, leave you out, Enoch out of our club. Spot on, my man, spot on. And he also says, wishing big man David well soon, and big up Jack. Also, as well, he's a top man.
Big up, Lee.
Dermot from Tottenham Tantrum Gold is in the building. Live from Kildare, Ireland. We come to the main event of the evening with thousands watching the world over, and all that's left to say, let's get ready to rumble. Introducing the legend that is David Harris. Man, I wish there was thousands watching. There's definitely not. And he also says, live from Brooklyn, New York. He is his partner in crime. He is the man with all the stats. Here he is, Jack. Stats man Kaniki. Big up, Dermot.
Big up, Dermot.
And Evelyn says, David Harris said it was a good transfer window, saying we got rid of Deadwood and brought in two Juventus players. Let's see this 360 tonight, like Jack has done. Well, first of all, Leighton, if you thought we were going to do a full rebuild and sign 8 players in the January transfer window, then I can see why you're upset. But, I'm not the one inside the club making the decisions. I said it was a good window in terms of what I wanted them to do. But I think you might not have been listening to that part. But look, I get it. I'll take the blame. Put it all on me. I've got big enough shoulders to take it, my man. No bother. Jack, anything you want to say to Leighton? Have you done a 360?
Have I done a 360 of sorts? Probably not, Dave.
I'm not sure, Jack.
Probably not, Dave. Maybe I was just taking a bit of positivity in what we knew was probably going to take multiple windows, in order to fix. I think we've all agreed that lots of times that it's not going to take one window in order to fix everything regarding Spurs. And I was actually, to a degree, quite happy with what, Paratici was able to do, especially getting the toxicity out of the club. I don't know why. Maybe you can't take positives from that. But I guess you can't, Dave. And I guess, it's always an I told you so.
No, 100%. Wembley 1 says, evening, guys. Conte in, Levy out. Big yourself up, my man. I hope you're keeping well. Mick says, good evening, lads. Big up, Mick. I hope you're keeping well, brother. King Hoddle's in the building. He says, how can Conte complain now about the exit of 3 players whom he didn't rate, hardly ever played, and whom most of the fan base regard as toxic and wanted out? It's totally unacceptable in my view. No, look, I agree with you on that one, my man. I really do. Tot 943 says, Lewis, Levy, Enoch, out. We want our Tottenham back. Big yourself up, my man. Sue Smith, I hope you're keeping well. Levy out, Enoch out. Hashtag Harris Army. Big yourself up. Sue, I hope you're keeping well. He is back, my man. I am back. Big yourself up. We have Koizy says, big up. I think Conte will be gone soon. We'll wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Niall Wood says, evening, people. Big up, Niall. Hope you're keeping well. Leon's in the building. Evening, lads. Big up the Irish Hotspur Army. Big up, Leon. I hope you're doing well, my man. We also have Ricky. He says, morning from Melbourne. Big up, Ricky. Hope you're keeping well. I know you're in the middle of winter over there. No. Yeah, summer?
The other way. Yeah, there's summer, yeah.
So enjoy yourself, my man. Go and enjoy yourself. Mark Cousins says, big up, lads. 9-1 formation on Saturday is the way forward. Big up, Marky. Chase Mullen says, evening, boys. Pumped up to hear what we got to say today. Don't worry, we've got a lot, my man. Jason Groves, best voice in the business, says, I honestly think it's Conte being Conte. He has made similar statements at other clubs. Interesting, my man. P says, I reckon the Irish Hotspur should give us some bars over the beats, lol. No, look, my days of rapping under lampposts in the housing estate is gone, my man. I've moved on from there, but no, the big DAV, he used to rock the MIC every once in a while, my man. Big yourself up. Brian C. Socrates says, David, hope you had a good trip to the game despite the result of performance. The team owes you one for your next trip over. We need to stay through these rocky times. Hashtag back Conte. No, look, do you know what? Just quickly, I actually had an incredible trip, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed meeting up with everybody I met up with as well. It was a good day in that regard. I'll be honest with you, the stadium is absolutely fantastic. What a stadium. I was absolutely enjoying being there. I don't think there's a bad seat in the house, to be honest with you. It's unbelievable. Look, Brian, it was the first time I've actually gone over and we've lost. It was going to happen at some stage, to be honest with you. I've had a good run of it. I'm not going to get too greedy. But look, I'll be over for West Ham, and I'm hoping to get over for West Ham in March and Brighton in April as well. Of course, Jack will be over for West Ham as well. So don't worry, Brian. There's plenty more games to take in to get the win. Peter Simmons says, Levy knows Conte is mouty. Why did he give him the job? It's weird. Interesting. Terry Wright's in the house. Big up, everyone. Big up, Terry. We also have Mr. Edwardson. He says, Antonio going public about Levy's incompetence as chairman. Exactly as any slightly intelligent Spurs support will have predicted. Hi, David. Big up, my man. I hope you keep him well. Simon Stevens says, great to see Sam on the show. No, it definitely is. It's always a good show with Sam. And same as Mr. Spurs related here as well, Jamesy boy. It's always a good show with these guys on. Para Miguel Escobardo says, evening all. Come on, you Harris Army.
Legend.
Come on, you Flat Cap Army. Steve D says, evening, lads. Big up, Steve D. I hope you're keeping well. Let's make sure I haven't missed anyone. Connor Cusack says, big up the Irish Hotspur. Come on, you Spurs. Need to win the North London Derby. Don't worry, my man. That is coming. Bobby Coy says, big up, guys. Good to see you, David, my man. Big up the Harris Army. It's good to see you too, brother. It is good to see you. Moondog says, don't worry, lads. 2-1 to us on Saturday. Honestly, do you know what? It's just like us to go and pull a result out against City. It really is like us to lose to Southampton and Wolves. 2 games you expect us to win and then go and pull a result out of City, Moondog. It really would not surprise me. But look, don't get me too hyped up. We still got a whole 24 hours to go before game day, my man. So I can't be getting too hyped up before that. Honestly, 164 Spurs says, David, I thought you were back in March. Great to see you back anyway. No, I'm back over there in March. I'm not coming back to Ireland in March. Jesus Christ, man. I don't have the money to sustain myself for that long period of time, but I will be back over there in March. Big yourself up. Derek Hutchinson says, big up, David and Jack. Great panel. Let's go City and park the bus and grab a breakaway winner. Absolutely love that. Michael Bennett says, we all know who the problem is here, boys. The only prick who doesn't, it's the one who won't look at himself and admit he has failed the club in the football sense for the past 21 years. That is a fair comment. Max says, big up the panel. In Conte, we trust. This is what Levy and the board deserve.
Big up, Mac.
100%. Ribsy85 says, hey, lads. Hey, everyone. Big up, Ribsy. I hope you're keeping well. Alfie Goslin's in the building. It will be a Storm Spurs fan if and when Conte leaves or gets sacked. Hope you feel better, David. I'm feeling a lot better, my man. I'm feeling a lot better. Thank you. David says, big up, Jack, Dave, and panel. Club need to learn from their mistakes and back Conte 100%, my man.
Legend.
Paul Brown says, evening, fellow deflated Spurs fans. Even the academy players are apprehensive about signing a new contract. Says it all, really. No, look, with the academy players, I understood it. A lot of their pathways were blocked. They weren't getting any games in cup games or anything to try and prove their worth. So I can understand why they were hesitant, to be fair. William McKenzie says, come on, you Spurs lads. Big up, William, my man. Really appreciate the support, brother. It's always big up Spurs. No matter what we go through, the love will never, ever phase. And that's one thing I can guarantee you. But big up, William. I really do appreciate the support, and I hope life is treating you good down in New Zealand, my man. I really do. Big yourself up. Tiger Lily says, glad you're better, David. Jack Merry is here. Big up, David, for the Irish Tottenham. Big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate it. Mary W. Hi, guys. Spurs forever. Big up, Mary. We also have Toxic Headshot. We have Scott as well. Jelly and Ice Cream. Steve D. Big yourself up. Aaron Dove is in the building as well. Big up. Izzy is here. James Hunter. Dan Tyler. Mark. Shamu is here. Paul Mansbridge. Big yourself up.
Big up, Shamu.
And we have Leighton Evelyn. Still love you, Jack and David. Always support. But this club is in real free fall. No point being positive because I see the dark cloud coming. No, look.
This guy made a 360 in the comments, Dave. He made a 360 in the comments, all of a sudden,
Leighton, are you doing a 360, the one you accused Jack of doing, my man? Come on, Leighton. I know, but big yourself up, my man. Look, I still love you too. And look, we always support the club through free fall. But look, I'm not going to tell anybody how to support the club. If people want to, see what's coming and predict things, all well and good. But if I want to be positive too, I'll be positive. But big yourself up, Leighton. I hope you're keeping well, my man. I really do. Big up, Leighton. I love Leighton. He's a bit of a madman. I love him. But look, Jack, it's time to hand over to you. Everybody, make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button if you are new. And guys, feel free to get the super chats in and help support the channel in its growth. It's a massive, massive help to everything we do here. But look, we know it's a big, bad world out there. Not everybody is in a position to do it. Just get your comments in to what we're talking about, and we will guarantee you we'll bring them up on screen. But look, Jack, it's time to hand over to you. Start firing questions at Shane and James. They look a bit bored there, lad.
Yeah, we'll start firing at them, Dave. But just want to say massive shout out to William McKenzie. Really just throwing in the absolute massive one, absolute legend. And also, Dave, I would say, earlier he's a bit more fired up before, he's probably a bit more deflated like the rest of us. But William McKenzie, really, really, really generous and do really appreciate it. And Leighton Evelyn, it's good to see that maybe you're not really seeing any hope or optimism in the rest of the season. Probably keeps you a bit more sane, but do really appreciate the support, my man. Do really appreciate the support. But let's break this down, everybody. We're just going to break down basically everything that has to do with that Antonio Conte interview. And the first question that was asked by the reporter for that was, is Antonio Conte happy with this Tottenham at the moment? And he said, I am certainly happy with the way we are working. I think we are doing a lot, but I am realizing being inside the situation that it will take time and patience because there are many young players, even at their first experience in the Premier League, who need to grow, gain experience, and raise their level. For you, maybe, James, what players do you think Conte is talking about when he says they need to raise their level, maybe in particular? Is there maybe certain players might be kind of obvious, but do you think maybe he's calling out particular players that need to raise their level?
I think without looking into it with too much sort of detail and, keeping a pinch of salt with this, I think maybe he could be saying Rodon, maybe he's not impressing him in training. That's the reason why he's not being picked for games. Obviously, Kulusevski's young, maybe not quite integrated into being a starter yet. You've obviously got Skip, who I'd say is at that level, but I don't think he's talking about him. there's several players which are young. Maybe even Emerson. Obviously, he's dropped him based on his awful performances, so he could also be seen as sort of this young, inexperienced player that's not used to the Premier League. And yeah, there's several options here in terms of the argument. But the ones that aren't performing, as we know, Doherty is not really a young, inexperienced Premier League player. He is an experienced Premier League player. Rodon hasn't been playing. Sanchez is actually experienced. He's just a clown.
Because there are some players with Premier League experience in the squad who haven't exactly raised their level, despite them technically having Premier League experience.
Listen, I know we're going to go through a load of the quotes. I want to say before we kick things off, it's got to be said, and it was a really good speech by Simon Jordan on TalkSport. Normally, I don't listen to TalkSport in terms of some of the pundits are absolute, I'll use the word again, clowns. But Simon Jordan really did hit the nail on the head. He was saying sort of, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, this interview. Spurs fans shouldn't overreact. And also the other thing is, there's a language barrier with Conte. English isn't his first language, so some of the stuff he says, he kind of says it at the top of his head, but maybe he doesn't really mean the full kind of integrity.
He's not able to phrase things as carefully as we are. I think that's what, you must say. Anything for a second language, third language, fourth language for somebody, they're not able to phrase things as delicately as we sometimes are. So sometimes when you might think there might be nuance, I feel like there might not be actually, because it's just someone's second language. I completely agree.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that.
Well, great answer there, James. And to be honest, I kind of agree with you with the fact that, he's probably speaking about more than just players that aren't exactly, new to the Premier League. He could be talking about other players in particular. For you, Shane, do you feel like when he says players that need to raise their level, is it just maybe the players that are new to the Premier League, or do you think he might be talking about other players as well?
If that's a specific question about Conte in the play, because again, we'll get into this later on. I'm not of the opinion that this is all about the players. I think there is a degree of Conte in this in terms of what he's doing. Again, I'll go back to the point about you saying about English is not his first language. Obviously, we know that. However, I think Conte is smart enough, good enough with his English to know when he needs to maybe not be understood as much, but maybe also be very direct. So we have to get that correct. He uses the press very, very well. Going back to the point about the players, I don't know, to be honest with you. I think he would have seen that from a long time ago. You don't need to be a manager at Spurs to know which players are not that great. It's not that difficult to see which of the young players, which players haven't got the experience, the players that have been brought in. We've seen the likes of Emerson, not quite up to speed yet. Doherty's been brought in last season, hasn't done much. On the other side, you've got Reguilon as a wing back. Sessegnon, we all know about Sessegnon, the young player. So he could be talking about everybody apart from probably Lloris, Son, Kane. That's what I'm thinking it is. It could be everybody, because I think he really likes Skip. So I think he's given Skip a bit of a glowing reference. And I think he really likes Eric Dyer. Those two players of the players that you could probably say are not the world-class players that we have if we're going to class Son, Kane and Lloris as world-class players. Those would be the players that I would think he has strong affiliation for. The others, they're just, you don't need anything other than your own eyes, and you don't even have to be at a close proximity to see that there is a lot of youngsters, a lot of inexperience, a lot of players who haven't got the mentality to play at the highest level. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise.
Not a surprise. Dave, honestly, I must say some very good opening statements, from the guys here. You can tell it's not their first rodeo. You can tell they're very professional about it. They've given some really good opening statements. They've said, listen, I'm going to give my main points later. Here's my opening statements. It's been very professional by the lads so far, Dave, but maybe give you a bit of a different sort of question, Dave, if you allow me.
Throw it at me.
Do you feel like, does Conte need more training on the pitch and in games in terms of setting up the team, or is it what we've been seeing late all down to maybe the quality of the players? Like, can Conte maybe, we've been seeing the loss of form of certain players that we thought maybe could continue. Do you think he can revive it all over again, on the training ground? Or do you think we're being harshly reminded of maybe the quality of the players?
It's not training anyway, Jack, because they've been training since they're 5 years of age. If they haven't got a grasp of tactics by now, well then, what the hell are they doing at the playing for at the professional level? I mean, there's players there in non-league that know some of that tactics better than these players. Look, Jack, it comes down to the usual suspects, and it's what I've been saying all along. look, we can sit here and praise Davies, Dyer, or Davies, Sanchez, and Winks over a period of 4 or 5 games where they stepped up. But this was always going to happen where we come back crashing down to earth. Look, injuries haven't helped the situation of late either. You know, if Dyer was back, Sanchez would have been dropped weeks ago. If Skip was back, Winks wouldn't be anywhere near the team. You know what I mean? We also have to factor in the injuries. Conte hasn't been able to put out his best 11 over the last few weeks. But Jack, it's what we've seen time and time again with some of these players where, you know, they'll come in, they'll get that new manager bounce, they'll play well for a period of games. All of a sudden, they get comfortable, you know, recline back, you know, and just start playing crap again. We've seen this time and time and time again. Now, anyone that wants to look at Conte and blame him, fair enough. I'm not going to tell you any different. But I mean, how many times have we seen Sanchez do these mistakes under different managers? Davies under different managers, Winks being anonymous in midfield under different managers. These problems were here before Conte got here.
Dave, as a quick, little kind of, I hate to interrupt you here, but, you know, as a quick follow-up, maybe because we can combine 2 questions here from the list that we got. If we're talking about Winks and Davies and these sort of players, why didn't we hire just some sort of project manager? If we wanted to get the best out of Winks and Davies, if we wanted to, you know, continue to try to work with what we got and maybe just buy young players and work with what we got and see what we can produce, why do we continue to spend the big bucks on these, you know, world-class sort of managers? Why not just buy, you know, some guy that's, you know, proving himself in the Swedish league or, you know, something like that, you know, that might be the new Ten Hag, you know, or something like that.
Graham Potter, he's at Brighton. He was in the Swedish league, wasn't he, Jack?
But that's what I'm saying, though, Dave. Why don't we buy the next Ten Hag? Why are we going after Antonio Contes and whatnot if we want to continue with the likes of, you know, Sanchez, Winks, etc.?
Do you know what it was, Jack? Well, once they were getting rid of Nuno, the fans wouldn't have accepted something like that. It was always going to have to be one of the big names in world football. Look, the board panicked, I think. They didn't look at the situation. Look, with what Conte was saying, you know, and what we've heard Daniel Levy come out before, they clearly think that the players, some of the players we still have at this club are good enough to push on. But if you want a manager to come in and wipe these guys' asses, but then you go and get a manager from lower down the league, someone that's going to come in and do it. Spurs have notoriously done well under project managers. You go back to what was that baldy guy's name? It's after escaping my mind. Come on, guys, help me out here.
Nuno.
No, not Nuno.
Ten Hag.
No, he was Spurs manager back in the day. He had like
Martin Jol.
Martin Jol, Harry Redknapp, Pochettino, all come in, all done well. But the reason why they got in Conte is because Spurs fans want to be challenging for trophies. We're not buying into this project thing anymore. Spurs fans are going absolutely apoplectic. But they brought in Conte, but they haven't fronted the money either that Conte needs. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I still think January transfer window, we've done a good window in terms of what you can do in the January transfer window. I'll be honest, I actually think the media have blown a lot of this out of proportion. And a lot of Spurs fans are probably being reactionary on this whole situation. But to answer your question, Jack, Spurs fans wouldn't put up with a Graham Potter. They wouldn't put up with a Ten Hag. You know, they want the very best in here now, and they want to go and get trophies.
Do they know what they're getting into then, David? Final little question. I know I keep interrupting you, but did they know what they're getting into then, the board? Because if they're then just going to hire, you know, a big name manager comes with technically big boy sort of consequences when you kind of think about it. If you don't back them, do you think they knew what they were getting into then? Because originally we thought yes, but maybe now, maybe not.
Look, with how bad some of these players are, Jack, over the last few years, they've got in like a Jose Mourinho, they've got in a Conte because they obviously believe that these guys would be able to somehow manipulate their tactics, be able to just spring some magic on these guys and make them play better. But it's been proven by these players that it's just not the case. They're just not at the desired level that we need. If they thought Conte was going to come in here and suddenly turn Ben Davies and Sanchez into Maldini and Nesta, I mean, they're sadly mistaken. At the end of the day, look, it's down to the players, and I think Conte wants to say that too. I think Conte wanted to sit there and go, look, you know, did you ever think I'd be managing Harry Winks? Do you ever think, you know, someone would be telling me I'd have to get the best out of Ben Davies and Sanchez? No, but he can't say that. He can't say that. So he's gone about in a different way. where it's kind of like, look, you can see the problems. When we have injuries, look at the drop-off in quality. Come the summer, back me. And I think that's maybe what he's hoping to achieve out of this whole thing.
Come the summer, back me. Absolutely. We're just going to keep moving on, boys, through the next quotes. But Shane, want to get you in here on the next one. I'm just going to take away, so maybe you can actually read the question here. I'm going to take away, unfortunately, the beautiful logo that we have up there. But the reporter asked, Shane, how is character transmitted to a team? You are a master at this. How do you do it? And he said, I think the first thing is to pass on to the team is knowledge, football knowledge. If you have football knowledge, knowledge makes you strong. It gives you strength and personality. Surely on a character level, this is a team we are working on. There's daily psychological work to try to make each player grow individually. Shane, do you believe Conte thinks the majority of the squad lacks that football knowledge? Or do you think maybe certain players in particular he's maybe talking about? Obviously, I feel like some of our younger, inexperienced sort of players, maybe he might be alluding to. But again, do you think he could be talking about just the entire squad in general, like you were saying earlier, apart from Kane, maybe Son and Lloris? You know, everybody but 3 players might not have this football knowledge that he's speaking about.
Yeah, it's going back to the actual reporter's question, character in terms of, I don't know how you can transmit character into a team. You can make a team in your image, I guess.
You can only build character.
Yeah, all the players should have their own character. That should be a given. It's whether they have the character to be able to succeed at the highest level. I'm not quite so sure. Going back to the point about the players with the footballing knowledge, well, clearly they haven't. You know, there's some players that don't have the football nous, because the amount of coaches that we've had come in and we've seen, and we've had this, right, Jose, top quality coach, Poch, top quality coach in terms of being able to develop young players, but then fell off towards the back end of his tenure. But we got in Jose. We then had, you know, the Ryan Mason. We then had Nuno, again, lauded to be a really good coach. And now we've got Antonio Conte. So you can look at 3 names there, really good coaches, different in terms of their manager ability, because obviously Conte, Jose are way above Nuno in terms of the aspect of management, but in terms of coaching, yeah, they're all very kind of like very top quality. The fact that we've had those guys in and we still haven't seen a massive improvement in the way we've had hits, we've had a few highs, we've had a few, you know, runs, we've had this, but every team has that. You want to see consistent progression. I haven't seen consistent progression. That means I think that the players lack the ability to take on and transmit what they're told onto the pitch. That's a bit of a worrying thing. And I'm only saying that because we've had more than one manager do it. If it was just one manager and it was Nuno, you could kind of say, okay, maybe Nuno's message couldn't get through. But Jose's message didn't get through. You know, Poch's message at the end wasn't getting through. Conte's message now doesn't seem to be getting through. So is it that they're not listening? Is it that they're listening but they can't do? There's so many different, you know, avenues to this. I'm not quite sure what the answer is. But if I look at it from a cold-hearted point of view, these players can't take on information to the highest level to be able to perform at the highest level, in my opinion.
That is that little end sentence there, Shane, is absolutely, I think, what rings true there. But also what you even said as well. Sometimes when it feels like with a lot of these quotes here from him, you're like, I don't really know what to make of that. Just like genuinely, I just don't know. Like I don't have an explanation. If someone does, maybe help me out here, you know. But I completely agree with you. That last little final quote, honestly, Shane, maybe we'll try to clip it for you. But I think that was beautifully said, because I think it really rings true with that squad, where some things at the end of the day, they just have a ceiling of understanding. They have a ceiling of what they actually can grasp, you know, psychologically as players. But Shane,
we can all play for adrenaline, yeah. So the manager, they talk about this new manager bounce. We've all seen it. Nuno had it. We won the first 3 games. You know, we didn't win them well, but we won them. You know, Jose had it when he came in. You know, the games we've seen them all. Conte had it, apart from the Moro thing. But now it seems okay. Once you've gone past that adrenaline rush, okay, what is it on a day-to-day basis that we're seeing the improvements on? I'm not seeing enough improvements, but we'll probably get into it later. I don't know if Conte is making the best of some of these players. What I mean by that is he giving himself and some of these players the best option to be able to perform at their level, because they have got a ceiling. I'm not quite sure about that, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure about it either, to be fair. And but to you, James, do you feel like, we've been talking about psychology a lot. Do you feel like maybe at some stage we just need to come to, acceptance that probably the majority of these players aren't really going to be able to achieve this sort of footballing IQ or professionalism that, Antonio Conte might be talking about? We're just going to have to come to terms with the fact that eventually most of this team will need to be weeded out because they're not going to be able to reach that ceiling of whatever he's speaking of.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm kind of surprised, actually, going back to that quote just now about, giving these players the knowledge and experience needed to push their levels at the end of the day, because I feel like the levels can't be pushed on players like, Ben Davies, Sanchez, Doherty, even Emerson. Maybe Emerson's a bit harsh, but Winks. These players, Lucas, he's not going to improve massively more as a player. He's like 27, 28 years old. He's probably hit his peak already. He's kind of, I'm a big fan of Lucas, but at the end of the day, like, these players aren't going to go up a level. Son and Kane, they're probably not going to go up a level. We've seen Son and Kane at their very best, but we want them to get back to that best. There's only so much. If I asked you a flip question, like, who in this team could improve as a player, I'd probably say Rodon, Skip, maybe Emerson. I mean, he can't get any worse. Maybe Galini, the younger players or the players that have just started out, Kulusevski, Bentancur, but we're not going to see the levels rise of Winks, Doherty, Davies, Sanchez, because they're either at an age where they're not going to improve more, or they're at the stage where we've taken them far enough. They've become dead wood for 1, 2, maybe 3 seasons, and we should have offloaded them. And we've kind of done half the offloading process. And we need to do the rest in the summer.
Just on that, just what you said. The thing, you can improve the players technically. You can do that. That's not a problem, because every player, we've seen improvements. We've seen improvements in Ben Davies. We've seen improvements in Sanchez to a degree. But this goes back to an old boxing phrase. 80% of boxing is mental, 20% is physical. This is the problem with Spurs. The 80% the mental, which is probably quite a lot to do with professional level sport, they can't deal with it. So on the training pitch, when we see all these videos of them training, it looks great. I'm seeing Bentancur knock them in top bins. I'm seeing Son doing the same thing. I'm seeing Lucas doing exactly the same thing. That's easy when you're not under pressure. Playing under pressure is a completely different thing. At the highest level, elite sportsmen will always tell you it's mental. It's never physical, because everybody is literally, tennis is a prime example. Most tennis players on the top 100 can probably all play and beat each other on a day. But the ones that win the Grand Slams are the ones that can play under pressure. That's the difference.
Yeah.
But you know what, Sean? The comment you made about, like, sort of Ben Davies has improved technically and stuff like that, to an extent, I don't agree with that, because, like, Ben Davies a few years ago was a player we signed for a reason from, was it Swansea? Like, I'm talking like 7, 8 seasons ago, right? He had.
I was going to say a few is not really correct.
Yeah, but he had that ability.
Testimonial, lad. Give him that next year.
We signed him for a reason, though. Like, he was obviously looked at as more of a, obviously a left back. We signed him. He'd never really got in the team over Danny Rose. And then you're saying, like, he's technically improved, but I would just say his confidence came back slightly. He probably flourishes better in left centre back where he plays for Wales. But also, going back to the original question, I still don't think Ben Davies is going to improve. Like, if I said to you, is this Ben Davies' best season in the Spurs shirt? I'd say, well, probably, but it's not like he's gone massively over the top, has he?
It depends.
It's not like he's being spoken about as one of the best center backs in, this season or like something like that.
And we look at last game against Wolves, the basics of defending, kicking it across and putting it to the edge of the box, and then 4 players just standing there watching it. Well, number one, you don't play it across goal.
So this is my point. So my point is, if I'm training with Spurs, am I a better footballer than Ben Davies? Of course I'm not. Is Ben Davies a level to be able to be playing at top level football? Of course he is. But he'll make mistakes because he can't play under extreme pressure. That's the point. In training, do you think he'd probably do that? I don't know. But I'm more likely he would have probably he might even turn the player and find a pass. When you're under that pressure, your decision-making becomes the problem. Everything technically isn't a problem for these footballers. Decision-making and what you do under pressure is what makes the difference. If he's Lloris, for instance, when that ball came across, I thought this guy could catch that. What made him not do it? It wasn't the fact that he couldn't catch it. It was the pressure he was under in that moment which made his decision to punch, which was wrong. Ben Davies, exactly the same thing. The decision that he made, instead of putting it into the stands and saying, I'm just going to put it up there, get back in. I'm going to try and play a ball into the middle of the pitch, which I don't have that quality to do. I'm not Ronaldinho. So I give all these players all the technical stuff they want because that's what they do every single day. But pressure is a completely different thing when you throw it in at them. They can't do it.
But why is he playing? But I agree with you, Sean. But why is he also playing like really well some games, and then against Wolves, arguably an easier game than others, and Southampton, he makes 2 mistakes, costs us technically 6 points alone because he's made 2 mistakes which have led to 2 stupid goals.
Because he's not that good. He wasn't brought in to be the first.
But why is the pressure there for those games? But the games he's played well against previously, like previously in the season, were probably bigger games. So why is he bottling it in the smaller games? Because he's not good enough. I can't explain that. That's what I'm saying. So Conte can't explain that. I can't explain that because Conte would be able to tell you, well,
Conte's trying to figure it out at this moment in time. Conte's trying to figure it out.
He doesn't know, and he sees these players every single day. I'm never going to know. I can't explain that to you. All I can say is that sometimes, you see what players do, you see what they do in training, so you think to yourself, that player's got it. But the mental side of things, they haven't got. So I don't know why from game to game they can't. Consistency is a major thing. Consistency is what you need to have. Most of the points for football, they want to see 7 out of 10s, 6.5, 7 out, 8 out of 10s. But we've got too much inconsistent players. I can't explain the inconsistency, but as a club, we're inconsistent. So the players that are playing for us are currently inconsistent as well. So it just goes hand in hand.
But as a club, we're inconsistent, but surely because of the players we have. We're only inconsistent because the players are inconsistent.
Yeah, you can say that, but if you look at our history as well, I guess we've up and down. Do you know what I mean? We've had some up and downs. We've had some up and down moments with managers. Some really good ones and some really poor ones. There's some really good ones that come in that we think we're going to do this. Then there's some really poor ones. We're inconsistent, and the players that we bring in, because I look at it and think we've brought some really, really talented players in here. They come to Spurs, and all of a sudden, they're not as good as they were when they were playing for X, Y, or Z. Why is that? And we can go on a whole list of players that have done that. There's very few that have come to Spurs, wow, excelled, and then gone on somewhere else. You could probably look at Bale, there's like that, Modric, Michael Carrick is being one of them. But those are very few and far between. There's more players that come to Spurs and fall off and go away and then do well than there are players that come to Spurs, do well, and then do well when they move on. I don't know what it is.
Nah, I think
but it's something with that. You're right, Sean. Something with that has to do with the fact.
Are you going to get my name right again anyway? Because it's not Sean.
Shane.
Yeah, I was just going to say third time's
Do you know what though? You've mixed it up. I thought it was Sam, then we gone with Shane. I might start calling you something else just to try and be difficult. But no, back to the point. That has to be something to do with the winning mentality, like making players worse than when they came in. Like, if we're not winning trophies for the past 14 years, that has to be looked at as a correlation between, a player leaving with actually going on to flourish than a player falling off like, Clinton and Jai, for example. I don't know what he's doing now. He's probably doing like some kind of accounting in France. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, James. But it is actually to a degree. Maybe perhaps, that lack of winning or that lack of tangible sort of, things to point to, or maybe contributing to that sort of drop in, ability for players. But Jerome in here with the super chat saying, boys, I think we are really overreacting with Conte's comments. All he said was, if you want players for the future, then achieving big things will take time. If we buy ready players, then trophies will come sooner. Dave, we're just all overreacting. The media is overreacting. Journalists are overreacting. They just, like you said, maybe like you were saying earlier, bit of a slow news week. This came out. They're trying to, interpret every single little inch of, what he said. Do you feel like maybe what Jerome is saying here is right? We're just really overanalyzing perhaps every single thing that he said.
No, 100%. I mean, we have to remember this is a media that tried to get Harry Kane out of here in the summer. The media's never been friendly to us. Every match day, they roll out anti-Spurs people to slate this club. At the end of the day, what bigger news is there today than Antonio Conte's interview? There is none. And that's why they've grabbed it, they've blown it up, and they've put it everywhere so that every Spurs fan be all over the place looking to see what's being said so that they can get the clicks, the likes, the views, and everything else. It is a pure overreaction. Basically, exactly what Jerome is saying here. Conte is saying, if you want me to deliver trophies and win Premier Leagues and stuff like that, you have to bring in experienced players that are ready to hit the ground running now. If you're not going to do that, then you expect this rebuild to take time. That's basically the nuts and bolts of what he's saying. But because he's Spurs manager and he's Antonio Conte and there's no other news today, then it's blown up out of proportion. I fully agree with Jerome. I like Jerome. He's a very level-headed guy.
Yeah, very level-headed with this one. I completely agree. And Jerome, I'm completely with you. But regardless, maybe, against your comment, we're going to break down every single inch of these comments just to make sure that, there isn't something there that we're missing. But Jerome, I completely agree. Leighton Evelyn says, David and Jack, how much do you think we will spend in the summer? And how much do you think we will spend? I think we want top 4 again. We need 200 million in order to get top 4. How much do I actually think we'll spend? I'd say a cheeky 150, Dave. I'd say 150 million is probably what we'd spend. We spend around, usually close to around the 100 million mark, sometimes a bit over, sometimes a bit less, every single summer to a degree. So I'd say around 150 million, Dave. Probably a big 50 million increase. Is that enough to get us to top 4? I would like to think so. But I know I can't wait for Leighton to tell me later that wasn't.
No, look, do you know what, Jack? I think it has to be 150 minimum. Look, you're going to have to buy in 2 centre-backs without a shadow of a doubt. You can't put up with Sanchez anymore. Tanganga needs a loan. Rodon, look, I know he's had his injury problems and stuff, but he's just not up to it. Ben Davies, inconsistent. You have to buy 2 centre-backs straight away. There's about 80 to 100 million gone if you're getting in the centre-backs of the right quality. Then you need to go and buy another centre midfielder. And there's another 50 million, if not more, down the drain. But what I will say is we can act in that free market. If we act in that out of contract market appropriately, you knock some of them off, and that means you can spend money elsewhere in other positions. Look, what I will say is that we put ourselves in the position in the January transfer window to be able to do this, to be able to buy first in the summer, to be able to act on these free contracts by getting wages off the bill. It means it's freeing up wages for us to be able to bring in players. And it's just about the board acting on it now. But if we don't have the 200 million to spend, well, then they better get onto that long list of players and start signing some of them up.
Even if we spend 150 million to 200 million pounds, I think that is 150 million to stand still. I don't think it takes us forward. The reason being is because other teams are going to spend money. Other teams are going to improve. Liverpool have already started that process. Man City. So if you take the 3 top ones out of the equation, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, forget them because we're not competing with them. We're likely to be competing with Arsenal, Manchester United, West Ham, Aston Villa. Probably you could throw Leicester in there. You might even throw Wolves in there. You could throw a few teams in there. None of them teams, if they've got anything about them, are going to stand still. So they're going to put money on the table. But what it does, if everybody does that, you're not really improving that much. We'd have to realistically spend 150 to 200 million each transfer window for the next couple of years at least, and couple that with having a really, really good manager and coach in order for us to improve, because nobody else is going to stand still. You just got to see what people do. Aston Villa got Steven Gerrard as the manager. Everton have got Frank Lampard as the man. Everybody's doing things to improve. Newcastle got new ownership. They're not going to just what if they stay in the division, they're going to be a problem. So yeah, this spending of money is needed, but we need to spend it consistently and we need to spend it right, and we need to get the right person in who's going to be able to get these players to play to the level that they need. Conte, as you said, is designed for now. We ain't got a now. So I'm not quite sure what he's going to do if he don't get what he wants in the summertime. I have an idea, but I'm not quite sure yet. We'll have to wait and see.
You know what, Shane? I hear what you're saying there, but I slightly disagree, because if we spend the money that I was talking about, I think that brings us back to where we were under Pochettino, where we have one solid 11 going forward, and maybe 1 or 2 off the bench to be able to come in. I do think you will see results improve dramatically on the pitch once you have your centre backs, Romero and the 2 others we buy in. Once you have Bentancur, Højbjerg, Skip, and that other midfielder to bring in, you have plenty of squad depth there. Then you look at the forward lines. You've got Kulusevski, Lucas, Harry Kane, Sonny, potentially Bergwijn. I definitely think that is more than enough to be able to go and get us to top 4. I really do believe that. But in terms of going on to win trophies, we have to do what you said, which is then build on it, keep building on it every single transfer window, not standing still. But in order to get top 4 next year, I think that would be enough.
So would you say then, and that, just so I'm clear, do you think that we're not competing with Man City, Chelsea, and Liverpool. Can we discount them three?
Oh no, we're not. We're not.
Right. Okay. So we are
That's the
competing.
battle
then.
for the last. Yeah, it's a battle
We
for
are.
the last.
We are.
spot.
We are now competing with Manchester United, Arsenal, West Ham, at least at the minimum, you would say. Both of which Arsenal and Man United historically have more than us, and probably historically will spend more than us. If Manchester United get it right, top four is done for us. I'm clear as day that that's going to be the case. If Arsenal get it right, top four is, they haven't got it right. That's the problem with Arsenal. But once they do, and if Man United get it right, we're now competing for top six. And if teams like Newcastle get big owners and they're doing what they're doing, and let's say Aston Villa come in with some money, or Leicester suddenly again do really well, we're competing in a top 8. So this top 4 thing, I'm not so sure. Trophy. I want us to win a trophy. I'm now back on that. Top 4. Fuck that. No,
but listen, guys, we're comparing ourselves to other clubs. We're saying, we're trying to determine how much we're going to spend in the summer. But let's not forget these owners were the first club in history to never spend a single penny in the summer transfer window in 2018, which was 3 years ago, right? 3.5 years ago. So we are actually playing catch up on other windows. We're actually thinking, okay, maybe we'll spend 150 million because of the Conte project, but actually let's not like erase our memories and forget that we didn't back Poch when it was the right moment.
Yeah,
we're now transfer windows behind other clubs that did invest,
Still paying the price,
and we're paying the price for that. We're like, okay, we can't compete. The reason why you're saying that we can't compete against Chelsea, Man City, and and Liverpool. Okay, a lot of that's to do with the financials. But if you actually look at the money made in the last 10, 15 years in Premier League, we're top 3. We have made like some of the most money ever on, think about Gareth Bale, 90 million at the time was ridiculous money. We have made so much money on some players, right? And I get that we're 2 billion in debt on the stadium. I completely understand that. But when you haven't invested in other windows and you're playing catch up, you're always going to be behind the bigger clubs anyway.
What I will say though is, compared to Arsenal and United, we actually have the right manager in place to be that I think gives us an advantage already going into next season, because he's already knows what players he
when
wants
you have
to
that summer to work
season, going into next season. We have that bit of consistency. You bring in Conte's players, we're well ahead of United, we're well ahead of City, or we're not City, sorry, Arsenal, because look, United still have to bring in their manager. They're not going to give it to Wreck-It Ralph. So they still have to bring in a manager. He's then going to have to find out what players he wants. United's a massive rebuilding job. I don't think they realize how big that actually is. Arsenal, I'll give it to them. They've put themselves in a position to be able to go and spend big this summer if they want to. Will they? I don't know, Is Mikel Arteta the man to get them top 4? I don't think so either. I think Arsenal are they're doing okay right now, but I do think they'll slip down the table again. But in terms of we go and spend that money, we are already ahead of them clubs because of the manager we have. We have one of the best 3 managers in world football right now, outside of Guardiola and Klopp. We've got the best manager.
So, David, the question then is, as you said, you're not quite sure if Arsenal will spend the money. Are you confident we'll spend the money? Because I'm not. And that's why I'm really concerned about the summer transfer window. Because if we don't, I'm fully behind Conte walking. And I said that on stream.
I think we all are, if that's the case.
If Conte walks, I'm done with it, because then it is down to the board's ambition. Because you don't bring in Conte if you are going to say to him, look, we're going to develop and we've got a strategy. But contrary to myself on that, Conte would have known that he's seen the strategy of players that have been bought by Spurs, unless he said to them, I'm okay with that, and I'm here for a 2.5 years to rebuild it. I don't know. But his contract suggests that he hasn't done that because it's 18 months. So he's looking and seeing what gets done before he makes a long-term commitment to the club. If that's the case, and he said what he said, although some of it is a bit paraphrased, he has said he's surprised that the club are going for this strategy of player in terms of being able to win. So again, the message is not quite clear for me.
No, it doesn't seem to be transparent between.
If I was having an interview with Daniel Levy, how much money have I got, Daniel? I'm not really going to be looking to develop your youngsters. Forget that. I'm here to win. So I'm going to need in January or in the summer. Forget January, because January is a bit of a misnomer window. But certainly in the summer, Daniel, I'm going to go. So Daniel might have said to him, you know what, we're going to work on that. If Conte's saying what he's saying now, that obviously that message is not clear, because he's saying things that kind of says.
Well, it sounds like Conte thinks he's being brought in to win now. It feels like, Shane. It feels like he's being told to win now. And if he's being told to win now, then he's like, where are my transfers? Like, where are my ready-made players? But if he's being told to win later down the road, then he's like, okay, then, you know, these transfers make sense. But it seems like what you're saying is there might be some sort of miscommunication, or there isn't very much transparency between him and perhaps Daniel Levy on how soon they're supposed to be achieving things.
There definitely is.
Yeah, sorry, just the last point on this. If he wasn't given that assurance, then surely he wouldn't be giving interviews like he's giving now. Because as I said, this guy knows what he's doing with the press. It's not the first rodeo he's been at. He's been at some of the most pressurized environments you could ever imagine. Because you playing in Italy for Juventus, that's some serious pressure. Inter Milan is serious pressure compared to what it is here. So the pressure side of things, he's not bothered about. He's saying what he means. He's saying it in full broad daylight so we can all see. Maybe his little bit is to do with kind of like this, like bringing down our expectations, but he's sending out a clear message. And that message is now going to have to be tracked.
Do you know what I feel? Sorry, just quickly. I feel like he is under pressure. I feel like he really is under pressure compared to other clubs. And I know what you're saying. It's not it potentially is not as big a job as like the Italian national team, Juventus, Inter Milan. I understand that, but also he's never been on this bad run before where he's lost 3 league games in a row. By the way, if we lose to Man City, which is, let's be honest, quite likely, he's going to break a record personally of 4 league losses in a row, which he's never done before. He's starting to feel the pressure because his personal accolades are starting to come undone and starting to get worse. He's getting these negative records. It's tarnishing his managerial record, right? And he's going to be worried about that. Of course, he's worried about the team and what's going forward for Spurs. But also, I feel like there is that pressure. And he's like, he may have seen these stats. I don't know how he maybe receives them. But he must be realizing that it is the toughest point, one of the toughest points of his career.
Well, I would agree with that to a point. But had he been coming in after someone like Sir Alex Ferguson, I would certainly say he's under pressure. Coming in after Nuno, what pressure have you got? Do you know what I'm saying?
If it's coming in as a savior.
If Conte wins or loses 3 or 4 games, at the end of the day, he's still got all his Scudettas. He can actually leave. He can say, I've tried my best. They've had 20-odd managers in 20 years. So they're not obviously stuck down to me, is it? That's exactly what he's going to say. You just got to look at our history. He cannot, even if he loses 10 games on the trot, he could walk away and get a job at Man United tomorrow. That's not a problem because our history shows we ain't done nothing with 20-odd managers in 20 years.
Yeah, and he's probably looking back to the Jose Mourinho thing and thinking, well, he was a manager sort of on my level as well, world class, won titles, in several countries, and then suddenly he got moved on. So he's probably like, this is a signal flare. This was a signal flare today.
100%.
Conte is not letting these players ruin that reputation, and that's what this whole interview is about. He's sitting there telling you, look, there's only so much I can do with the quality we have at the club right now. Now, I can get what he's saying about bringing in these experienced players and stuff like that, but we've only had a January transfer window to work with. It's unrealistic. What club are going to players that are of the right caliber to be able to come into Tottenham when most of the clubs that we're looking at to buy players off are either challenging for cups, Champions League runs, or they're in Europe? They're not going to come. So there does have to be an air of patience from Conte too. Yeah. But at the same time, he's just putting it out there. Look, I'm not the problem. It's these dipshits that failed Jose Mourinho, that failed Pochettino ultimately when he had to start relying on him. He cost him his job. Jose Mourinho, I'm not even going to say anything about Nuno Mason because they should never have been in charge in the first place. But, he's not going to let these guys ruin his reputation. I think he's just putting it out there because you have to understand after Southampton, after Wolves, people are saying, oh, why is he playing this formation? All this blaming Conte. He's just basically come out and said, look, it's not me. It's this shit.
Absolutely, Dave. Absolutely. Everybody just got to get through these super chats and really, really spot on, everybody. Paul Markey saying, fact, you can't make a milk purse from a sow's ear, and the squad is full of pig's ears. Total revamp required. Absolute revamp required. In fact, honestly, complete overhaul, especially after performances like this, when we're reminded about maybe what these players are certainly capable of at their moments, Dave, when I would say probably maybe 16, 17 players you would probably say you could realistically see, maybe not being good enough for what Conte actually wants to achieve. And I think Paul Markey's kind of basically just alluding to that here. Is it's just a total revamp required. But Paul Markey, big yourself up, my man. Jerome here saying when your defense was Walker, Vertonghen, Alderweireld, and Rose to now Davies, Sanchez, Dyer, Royale, and Doherty, expectation has dropped badly. Dave, singing from the hymn sheet here, Jerome. This is what we've actually come to realize is the players that now we're depending on were backups, third strings under, Pochettino back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it all along. I mean, Davies couldn't really get into the team unless we were resting Danny Rose. Sanchez, nowhere near it. Dyer, nowhere near it. Always on the injury bed. Look, Doherty and Royale, they're only new. But look, we have to understand that this rebuild was always going to take years. Jack, I think me and you were speaking about this not so long ago, that this rebuild was always going to take 3, 4, 5 windows to do. But like the reason why we've declined is exactly like what James was saying earlier on. We never kicked on in them windows. We have basically asked Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte to do something that Pochettino didn't want to do or couldn't do, which is get the best out of the backup brigades. Now, I have no problem them being here as backups if they're stepping in for 1 or 2 games. They've proven they can do it. But the problem is, and what my biggest problem was, is that they cannot do it when you're relying on them week in, week out.
Yeah.
But we already knew this.
They will crumble.
We already knew this. And this is a massive part of the problem. You even look into midfield. Once we lost Wanyama and Dembele, Harry Winks is in there. I mean, God love the guy he tries, but he's just crap. He's just weak. Every time he plays, we get overrun through the midfield. And this is the problem. From the midfield backwards, we have not rectified that problem, nowhere near it. And we're only beginning to do it now since Paratici coming. A lot of people are making Paratici the problem. Oh, is he a Don? I mean, first of all, get over it. It's a fucking nickname I gave him. It shouldn't be debates on every other channel. Is he a Don? Is he not a Don? It's a nickname, first of all. But second of all, let's be honest. This guy is coming in to try and help the situation. Look at what he got rid of in the summer, up to 10 players. Look at what he's got rid of this January. The rebuild's going to take time. It's never going to be done. But what we have done, what Paratici has done, has probably limited the amount of windows that we would have originally took under that fraud Steve Hitchen. And you look at it, come the summer, you buy in the 2 centre-backs, the centre midfielder, and maybe a right-back. This squad is good enough to go and get top 4.
So, David, quick question then. If it is a rebuild, and I completely agree with all what you said, why would you bring in Pochettino, Conte at this moment in time?
I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier, though, Shane, where they panicked once they sacked Nuno. They panicked once Nuno started falling hard. They panicked and they just had to do the emergency release valve, for Antonio Conte to bring in.
And I'll be honest, I'm actually glad they brought in Conte, because if I was sitting here talking about Harry Potter, trying to get the best out of Davies and Dyer, honestly, I would be losing my rag every single day of the week that we're bringing in a manager to get the best out of these players. When you bring in a manager like Conte, it kind of maybe, and with the business we've done in January and the work we've done in terms of getting offloading players, it's kind of saying to me that come the summer when the money is there and when we can go after the players, there'll be more that we want, there'll be more available. I just don't think you'll see these guys too much longer. So I'm actually happy they got in Conte, who realistically be looking to improve, rather than bringing a Ten Hag, rather than bringing a Harry Potter and sit there and watch them clowns run around every week trying to get the better out of them. I can't do it. At least with Conte, I know if he gets his way, they're out of here.
Yeah, can you imagine having Fonseca in charge of like Harry Winks and Davinson Sanchez? I think I would just lose the will to live, to be honest with you.
But why is it that we're so on these players? Right, okay. These players, they are. They're not the best players in the world, but I can't keep using the word crap for them because I look into the championship. I watched Nottingham Forest.
Well, I would say they're closer to crap than they are the best players in the world. I would probably.
I've watched teams like Nottingham Forest play. I've watched teams. Who else is Fulham in the championship. They're playing really good football. Now, if everybody's going to tell me all them players in that squad are better than ours, I've got a problem with that. I can say some individuals are better, probably, than some of the individuals, but as a collective, as a collective, as 11, 12, 13, 14, there is no way that Nottingham Forest or Fulham should say or can say that their squad is better than ours. However, they're performing at a level of football in terms of the way they play, which is way above what their collective actually should do. I as a coach myself, I'm still wanting to know why these players cannot play to that sort of level and give the desire bit. I can understand.
I'll tell you why. We'll start with Harry Winks, Shane. So Harry Winks, I watched him there on Sunday, and I specifically watched him. Now, the guy, he's the reason why he doesn't like to turn on the football is because he knows himself he doesn't have the strength. As soon as he turns, he's opening himself up for them to take the football off him, and they'll do it every single time. That's why he does not play forward. Look, Harry Winks as well, if you look at him, rather than like what I seen from the Southampton game, rather than being like Højbjerg and being proactive and going winning the ball, and when he has Skip beside him, Skip is the exact same, proactive, pushes up, they try and turn the ball over midfield. What I saw was Højbjerg pushing to win the ball and Harry Winks sitting 10 yards behind him, already anticipating the pass going there, but already anticipating running them off. Now that's reactive. Why not be proactive? When Højbjerg presses, you press, so that pass into the midfield is not on. Harry Winks won't do that. The problem with Harry Winks is he has not evolved as a footballer. He just hasn't. He has not evolved whatsoever. You look at Ben Davies. He's moved in from left back to left-sided centre-back, but that's because the guy was too slow at left back. He was getting roasted week in, week out. So we put him in at left-sided centre-back. Yes, he looks better, but still, if you're talking in a team where you're going to be pressed, you have to be able to play out from the back. Ben Davies can't do that. You look at Davinson Sanchez. From when he's first come to the club to now, can anyone sit here and tell me that this guy has improved when the ball's in the air? No, he's just as lost as ever.
And when the ball's on the ground, and that heavy touch he made when he nearly conceded another goal.
When the ball's in the air or on the ground.
He made like a 10-yard touch. It was unbelievable.
Basically, the problem is that some of the players we keep talking about, they haven't improved and they haven't shown a desire to improve. If I seen them improve, you could sit there and say, yeah, hang on, they're working. But they're not. They haven't improved anything that I've been giving out about since I first started coming onto YouTube. Go and watch my first stream on We Are Tottenham TV. I'm still talking about the same things today when it comes to some of these players. You look at the likes of Fulham and Nottingham Forest. First of all, they're playing in a complete different league. The quality maybe isn't as good. But also, there's players there that want to reach to the Premier League. They have a goal. You know what I mean? And they're probably in there working week in, week out, every day on the training ground, hard to be able to make that happen. Winks, Davies, Dyer, Sanchez, players like that, they have not improved on their weaknesses. They haven't.
I think they're too comfortable. If I'm honest with you,
they haven't earned the first team place. They have not earned their first team place. It's been given to them out of default.
Because Nottingham Forest played Arsenal. They played, who did they play as well the other day? They played Leicester. They played 2 games where I've seen Premiership quality, but they're not a Premiership team. So that part of the argument when they played in the Championship, I understand, but I've seen them play Premiership opposition with Premiership players play. They weren't like they were throwing in some kids. So I've seen that can only be down to coaching and the ability of the players to want to learn and the desire to play against opposition. So my point now is, okay, going into the Man City game, I probably think this is going to be one of the games where we see, Spurs have really made the effort. But that's only because Conte's probably come out and said what he said in the press. It's only because these players have lost 3 games on the trot. It's like they have to now just do it because they have nothing to lose apart from, us giving them more grief on social media. That shouldn't be the case. We should be able to go into that game knowing the style of play we're doing, knowing who might be playing, who's likely to be our strong. Again, I'll go back to the point you're right, David. We haven't had our strongest team out for Conte, but that's no excuse for any player, no footballer in the world to not make effort. So I don't care if Ben Davies is playing. I don't care if he's shit, because we know that. But what I want to see is stuff like I saw against Wolves. I don't want to see that bollocks. Do you know what I mean? You're very simple in your approach. Kick it out. Don't try and be fancy with it. Lloris, catch the ball. You're a World Cup winner. You play for France. You've got nearly 100 caps or whatever it is. Don't do stuff like that. That's my point.
Do what we know you're capable of. Do what we know you're capable of.
I think the biggest thing you said, Shane, though, is collective. Like Fulham, Nottingham Forest, they all have that one goal, that one cause that they're all working towards. At Tottenham, we're not losing as a collective. It's individual errors that are making us lose these games over the last couple of weeks. It's not a collective thing. And that, look, I'll be honest with you. If I was Harry Kane and Son and Hugo Lloris in that dressing room, you think I'd want to be a collective with Ben Davies, Sanchez, and Harry Winks? No, because I just know every single week between one of them, that mistake is coming and it's going to be costly. Of course I'm going to hate them. I have ambitions to go and win trophies. I'm looking at Ben Davies that we signed from Swansea for less than 10 million. Of course he's never going to be good enough. Of course there's not going to be any sort of collective there, because there's two complete different levels at this club. We have some world-class players, and then we just have some bang average shit players. There's no real middle ground in between. It's one or the other. So there can't be a collective, because if I'm like I said, if I'm these world-class players, I'm looking back every single game, just hating on them. I'm looking back. When's the mistake going to happen? But not only that, they're taking away from the guys' numbers going forward, because they can't get on the ball to be able to play out the back. So what they end up doing then is lumping it long, and half the time it's not even anywhere in a position where Harry Kane can go and win the ball. So of course they're not going to be collective, because I know Harry Kane and Son and all hate them fuckers, and I don't.
The only other thing I'll say is we give them players grief, but Ben Davies, Sanchez, they're defenders. So when they make mistakes, it's going to be glaring. Someone like Lucas, someone like Bergwijn, who probably
when he loses in a bad spot, not as noticed.
So they haven't been getting as much grief. So I'm just giving a bit of devil's advocate, because in their position, you make mistakes, you're going to be very costly. When you make a mistake like one, I see the bouncing off Lucas's shins every single time it comes to his chest. He's just bouncing everywhere. We don't give him as much grief because it doesn't lead to anything. Sanchez.
If they don't have the mentality to be able to deal with the pressure week in, week out, knowing the mistake is going to cost them, then why choose to be a centre back? Why choose to be a left back? They chose them positions.
I don't know why they get chosen to play the team.
They don't choose to play there.
Yeah, I mean, someone must have just told their under 6s coach and under 10s coach, Dave, maybe not to tell them to do that. But the bottom Duda says, Sky did the same with Lukaku and now with Conte. Once I saw the entire interview, I realized there's nothing negative he actually said. The translation from Italian to English didn't help either. I overreacted. James, this is kind of interesting. Do you see maybe some parallels, some similarities between this and the Lukaku situation? Antonio Conte's interview, is it similar? Is it more different than it is similar? Or I kind of feel like there are some similarities to an extent where it's, a slow news week and all of a sudden this comes out and, we're going to, every media outlet, including us ourselves, are just going to be analyzing every single inch of it. And, maybe that's what it is. Maybe we are just always going to overinterpret it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the similarities are that they're trying to blow it all out of proportion. I mean, probably the Lukaku situation is probably a bit more damaging because he's talking about a former club that he's just left for Chelsea, whereas this is Conte almost, like we said, like setting off that flare and saying, look, here's your warning. You need to back me in the summer. You need to understand that I'm not working with the best tools. That's kind of the two things he's saying here is back me in the summer, and this team at the moment isn't experienced enough, or however he worded it. So he's kind of putting up reasoning, but he's also like putting up a warning to Levy and Enoch and saying, look, this is to come. Look at Jose Mourinho, didn't get enough out of the players, Nuno, Pochettino at the end. So he's saying, look, you need to back me, basically. He might as well have come out and said that, but that's what we're all reading into it, and that's how we're interpreting it. So I don't think it's too similar to the Lukaku situation. That's more damaging for an individual. Conte hasn't damaged himself. He's kind of saying, wake up, Enoch, Levy, wake up players. We're never going to get Harry Winks to being a world-class experienced Premier League player because he's an experienced, average, terrible player. Average, terrible. Average at times, terrible most of the time. There you go.
Average is the ceiling. I think average is the ceiling. But
averages is 10-10. Averages is 10-10.
There you go.
Or maybe he's 9-10. Maybe Real Madrid will go with he played really well.
The bottom Duda, I think there are some similarities with the Lukaku situation, but James broke it down well there, where they're definitely, in terms of what actually was said, maybe some differences. But Faz Radfar, but to bottom Duda, I really do appreciate the big one. Faz Radfar saying all Conte said on paper were weaker, being the quantity. And Faz, I think you're spot on. When he said on paper, I think a lot of people didn't notice that key word, because anytime you do usually say that, you would usually say the opposite. When you say on paper, we look like a good squad, but usually every time you say on paper, there's usually some sort of contradiction or some sort of but or something that comes on afterwards. So I think I see where you're coming from, Faz. Jerome is saying, forget Man United. We are competing with Arsenal, Wolves, Aston Villa, Brighton, and Newcastle because they're going to spend big in the summer.
Jerome, don't set Dave off on Brighton. We know how it was a couple of weeks ago, honestly.
Oh, Jesus.
Dave, they're going to back Harry Potter more than they're going to back Conte, Dave.
No, I can see where Jerome is coming from, but look, we're not competing with Brighton. We're not competing with Wolves.
No.
Look, West Ham, Wolves, they're having good seasons this year. They will not carry this into next season. We're not competing with them. Aston Villa, look.
West Ham would have got in Europe last season. They're still here now. They are competing with us. I'm not sure about bloody Wolves, but definitely West Ham are. They've got the manager and they've got the players.
Next season they'll be picked apart. Soucek,
the thing is, Shane, with bubbles, Dave, bubbles, they blow up every once in a while. A bubble. It's always gonna, it's a bubble for West Ham, like everything for them. It's a bubble. It's gonna burst every once in a while.
And Brighton are having their own battles in terms of transfers. They got to keep Basuma and Lamptey, who are going to be sought after in the window. So I think the fact that they're linked with Tottenham says that we're not competing with them. We're actually above them.
Yeah, fair play.
So Brighton be picked apart. Wolves be picked apart. West Ham be picked apart. Newcastle, it's going to take them years before they're properly challenging. Look, I still believe we're challenging with United and Arsenal. Maybe not so much Arsenal.
Big up Jerome, though. I do see where you're coming from, though, my man. Big up Jerome. Really do appreciate the generosity as well. Leighton Evelyn again in here saying, been a Spurs fan since 85, and in the Poch era, we have been spoiled, and I can see us going back down to a top 10 club. Welcome to my life, lads. Dave, were we spoiled under the Poch era? I'd like to actually probably say we are, because constantly we do compare ourselves to what we were under Poch, which maybe speaks to the fact that we were perhaps a bit spoiled. At the same time, though, we knew that there was no excuse for us to fall from the pedestal that we had under Poch. The fact that we fell from those graces is ridiculous in itself, but maybe we aren't sometimes recognizing we were maybe perhaps a bit spoiled in those days.
Do you know what? I see where Leighton is coming from, but I don't believe spoiled, because at the end of the day, we recruited the players that we were playing with that got us to all them occasions. So you reap the benefits of good recruitment. Now, I think that's where I'm at. Like we reap the benefits of good recruitment when other teams likes of City and Liverpool and all, maybe their recruitment wasn't so good, and we took advantage of it. And our recruitment was spot on. So, but look, in terms of being spoiled, getting to semi-finals, finals and stuff like that, probably yes. But at the same time, we had a very good 1 to 11, a world-class player in nearly every single position. So you probably got your just deserves as well. You probably got what you deserved. But the reason why we are where we are now is because we didn't continue on that recruitment process. We sacrificed in order to build the stadium.
Yeah. I completely agree there, Dave. But Leighton, maybe we weren't so spoiled, my man. Do really appreciate the consistent support, though, Leighton. Really do. The bottom dude is saying Paratici should support Conte in the right way. A midfielder was necessary, but if Conte needs a defender, how does it help, even if you sign a Salah? What are your thoughts on this, Shane? Like, did you feel like no matter how pretty of a car, maybe he buys, he still needed, he actually, at the end of the day, he still needed a center back, no matter how beautiful of a right wing you buy, and no matter how much of a flashy signing you get, he probably still didn't get actually the players that perhaps he probably needed in the right positions.
So it goes back to the point. Who are you going to get in January that is going to make the difference? They're going to be coming from a team that's at a higher level than us, because unless you're going to find them gems, that's going to be a risk. So you want to go and get a player, if you was able to get a player like a Virgil van Dijk, obviously. They're not going to be available in January, A, because they're not at a club that you can get them from, and B, because they're going to be playing at a high level anyway, Champions League, whatever. So you're not going to get them. So as a club, were we just expecting to get bodies in? We've had that when we've done the summer. We've got 7 bodies in with the bail money. Do you know what I'm saying? We can't waste money. Our recruitment has been shocking. So I would rather them get rid of players because everybody's saying, "Oh, we got rid of 4 players, only got in 2." But the 4 players that we got rid of, they weren't playing anyway.
They weren't being used.
They weren't being used.
Exactly.
They had Tanguy, Dele, and Gio looked like they all wanted to
They had
be
like
out of the
12
club.
games between them or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be there, or they didn't look like they had the desire to play for Spurs. Gil was probably a little bit different. I'm a bit surprised he went, but I can understand why. But then to get players in, for us to take us forward, not just stand still, to take us forward, we're going to have to get players better than what we've got. To get players better than what we've got, we need to go to clubs who are in better competitions than us. And it's not going to work. So you have to wait till the summer. You have to wait till the summer. The only surprise I've got is that Conte is so honest. You know, I think that's the only thing we've got to get used to. His honesty in saying exactly what he feels and exactly what he thinks. That's the problem. He's not said anything bad. He said everything he said is spot on. The only problem is, did he have to say it now on the eve of this game? And did the press have to make it such it's on the eve of this game? Because that's all it is. It's sound bites. We're all talking about it now, and we've got a massive game on Saturday, and that doesn't really help.
Do you know what, Shane? I can kind of understand why he said it now. It kind of maybe light a fire under the players' ass, because to be fair to him, he took the blame for Wednesday night by saying that the way he reacted in the game, it got his players too emotional. He took the blame for what happened Sunday night, expecting a reaction from them against Wolves. And against Wolves, it was the worst performance of the season. So him taking bullets for these players clearly doesn't work. We've seen it under Jose Mourinho when he took bullets for the players at times. It did not work. But then at the same time, when you come out and you criticize them to try and light a fire under their ass with some of these players, again, it doesn't work. It's going back to what we've seen under Jose, what we were seeing under other managers, where, you know, they take the bullet, you don't get reaction. You criticize them, you don't get reaction. And it just comes back to these players are not good enough. Get them out of here. But again, we have to be patient. The rebuild was that big. There was that many positions we needed to fill. It was you were always going to come out of January with, we signed here, but why didn't we sign here? You're always going to come out of January wanting more. But as Spurs fans, we need to sit here and really size up the size of this rebuild. It's a lot bigger than what we thought. And to be fair, it would have been bigger unless Skip came to the front, unless Dyer came to the front. But you still have to go out and sign 2-3 centre backs. You still have to go out and sign one right back, another good quality left back, another 2-3 centre midfielders, another striker, perhaps one more winger, if you want the strength in depth to be able to go and compete on all fronts. This rebuild is huge, and Spurs fans have to understand this. But what we have done under Paratici is bloody well make a start, which was not happening under Hitchin.
Agreed.
No, it wasn't.
That's where I'm at.
Shane, you're still under the hot. Oh, yeah, James. Sorry. No,
I was just going to say, Dave's spot on, like what he's just said there about the rebuild. I would say when some people think we're like halfway through the rebuild, a third of the way through the rebuild, because we've signed some players, we got rid of half the dead wood, and then we can go on in some. I would say we're not even a quarter of the way through the rebuild, because we've still got to get rid of those players we've talked about several times that make mistakes over and over, that have hit their levels and they can't progress anymore. And we have to get a better starting 11, because there's only a handful of world-class players that we know that need to improve in the 11. And then we need strength in depth. So we need squad depth, because if you look at our bench at the moment, I mean, earlier in the season, a lot of the time, go back and look at the stats, Brian Hill was the first man off the bench, and now he's on loan. So that just says everything you need to know about our squad depth right now.
100%.
You're spot on, James. Really good at the final point there. Shane, you're still under the hot seat here, because Jerome is saying, Shane, we are not losing games as a collective, but because of dumb individual errors, which was there to see against Southampton and Wolves. What do you have to say, Shane?
I think you just got to look at performances. You know, we are losing games look at the Leicester game. The Leicester game, we should have lost that. Add that to the pile of stuff that we've had. You know, you can go back and look at the games. I'm not talking about, when I say about the collective, I understand individual errors. Mostly that's where goals come from anyway. So you're going to get individual errors. It's just where we're conceding them errors, they're compounded. Like, we make one mistake, it's then compounded by somebody else making another mistake. You know, you can make mistakes in games, but you can also get away with it. When we make mistakes, it's compounded. Lloris makes the save, flaps, it then goes out. Some shot comes back in, somebody doesn't get up off the ground to try and make a block. It's compounded. Ben Davies, Lloris plays it out to him. It's then Ben Davies tries 2 mistakes in one. If you make one mistake and get away with it, that's what good teams can do.
Yeah.
Every team makes mistakes. They just don't make too many of them. And on top of that, we're seeing the same mistakes being made in multiple games. Sanchez makes the same mistakes in multiple games. He's not learning, or he cannot play under pressure. Simple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
Jerome, like by the looks of it, it's like Shane is saying here. It's not just one howler. It's one howler built on another howler, built on another howler, all collapsing on upon each other. So
Absolutely. And did you guys see the screenshot on social media that went viral of that second Wolves goal when Dendoncker scored? There was Harry Kane, Harry Winks, Bentancur, and one or two other players. There was five of them. There was five of them standing on the edge of the area with 4 Wolves players in the box and 2 Spurs players. So it's 4v2 in the box, right?
It actually looked like they were watching it through a glass window.
And
or
that's
something,
not coaching. That's nothing to do with coaching.
But Shane, going back to what you're saying, that's not 1 or 2 individual areas or 3. That's 5 or 6 in one build-up play.
Exactly.
And that's added on to the one against Southampton where Romero and Sanchez were marking the same, man. Emerson was left at the back post with 3 players, one on the edge of the box, one out wide, and one drifting in from the edge of the box, which Kulu let run, while there's other players standing there on the edge of the box. There's no communication at the back. There's no communication. No one sitting there being the leader, pulling the strings, talking to people. Okay, if I was Romero, I'd be looking around and going, "What, Sanchez? Have I got a nice aftershave on or something? Get over there and fucking help Emerson. I have this guy covered." You know what I mean? And it's back to what Shane is saying. It's mistake upon mistake, but then it's game after game. And that's the way it's becoming now. It's been like that since we first started, since we come into them Chelsea games. And it can't keep happening. But, Jack, it goes back to what we've been saying all this time. These players who so many people, no, get off the back. They're doing well. They've turned the corner. Well, I hate to sit here and tell you, but they haven't. I knew this was coming. I expected this to come. I expected it to happen. Because I know these individuals are not good enough to be here and will never find that consistency to be able to play at Tottenham Hotspur. They should not be at a club like ours.
We need to have our best, sorry, Jack. We need to have our best 11 out. That's clear as day. We need to have Dyer in the side. We need to have Romero in that defense. We probably have to get away with Ben Davies, although I'd like to see Joe Rodon on that left-hand side of the defense. And we have to then do something about that right-hand side and wing back. I would rather see, did it on the show yesterday, I'd rather see Bergwijn play there or even Lucas Moura than to see what we're seeing, because Emerson can't defend and he can't attack.
What we're getting now. We know what we're getting from Emerson and Doherty. It feels like we need to try something different. It feels like with Bergwijn and the others out there.
They can't defend and they can't attack. So if you're a wing back and you can't do either of those 2 things, why are you in the team? If you can't attack and you can't defend.
I actually looked at something there against Wolves, right? So Winks is playing on the right-hand side of that midfield, right? Now, with the fullbacks or the wing-backs, they're looking to be able to, at times, have that option inside midfield to lay it off and go again. But Harry Winks is not providing that. He's not coming across or getting in front of his man in the midfield to provide that option. He actually, 9 times out of 10, sat in behind the Wolves player, so that option wasn't there. So no wonder why we can't get down the right-hand side, because the midfielder's not coming across there to offer that option whatsoever. He's sitting in the midfield, scared, thinking what colour he's going to paint his toenails tomorrow. That's what he's doing. He's not out there offering the option. It comes down to being lazy. Some of these players are lazy too. They don't run about enough. When you're on the ball or off the ball, you need to be running for 90 minutes. You need to be showing for the ball. You need to be creating these options. But I'm surprised when it comes to Harry Winks. No, I'm not. Because I've said this time and time again. He's been the man put in midfield that these defenders should be hitting with the ball, that he can turn and get us up the field. But he can't do it. They don't trust him. They don't want to give him the ball. And he doesn't have the desire to do it. It's a massive, massive problem. That centre midfield with Winks in there is a huge problem. You put Højbjerg and Skip back in there, I guarantee you, a lot of these mistakes don't happen, because the reason why they're happening in defence is because these teams are just pummeling us straight through the middle every single time without any answers, and it's always down Harry Winks' side. And it's getting to the point where you're seeing Wolves and Southampton coming and pressing Tottenham at home in our own stadium, because they know you pressure Sanchez, he will make mistakes. You pressure Davies, he will make mistakes. You pressure Harry Winks, he will make mistakes. You'll take the ball off them and you're in at goal. And that's why we're seeing these teams rock up to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and doing this. And it's up to the individual players now to stand up and fucking be counted.
My last point about just again, we've got to do the devil's advocate bit. The best games we've seen Harry Winks play, well, certainly I've seen him. He's been in a 3-man midfield.
Yep.
Again, you've got to look at where he's being played. I'm not saying he's a good player because I don't think he's great. He's back to number 8 for me. However, if you put Pirlo in a 2-man midfield, he wouldn't be the Pirlo who plays as a, you know what I mean, that sweeper person when he's protected. So Harry Winks might need to be protected by playing him in a 3-man midfield. Maybe that deep line playmaker. And maybe then we'd see a more consistent Harry Winks. In a 2, with any player, he's not good enough. He doesn't have the press resistance. He doesn't have the mobility. No. He doesn't have the skill. He's not a box-to-box. So he's going to show up as being a weak link. Put him in at number 4, and we've seen him play better. Again, not saying he's good enough for us, but he can be a better player when played in the right way.
I'm glad you said that.
It speaks to it too, though. When you put him in, when you protect him, when you put him in the position that he best suits, he plays well, because that speaks to his whole career, maybe even his whole life to a degree, is protected, to an extent. Because
we're all sick of making these we're all sick of making these exceptions and these excuses for these players. Like in the summer, it has to be like, how can we be changing a whole formation to fit Harry Winks in because we have to play him? Like, think of what you just said. I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. And I think you are spot on. He does play better in a 3 and a 2. But why are we having to change our whole formation? Our whole team have to, switch around tactics-wise. Harry Winks.
I agree. I don't think he's good enough to play. But I'm saying if he does play, don't play him in a 2. If you're going to play Harry Winks, don't play him as a 2.
That's
if you're
the price of devil's advocate.
And you have to pay Harry Winks, play him as a 3. That's the point about Conte. For me,
I just think don't
play him at all. I don't want to see him play at all. If I'm honest with you, a midfield of Bentancur, Skip, and Højbjerg would be what my preferred midfield. And then if you wanted to be more attacking, maybe put Kulusevski in there and play 2 behind him. That's how I'd play it, because the team, Southampton manager said that. He said, all we need to do is flood the midfield. Wolves did exactly the same thing. All we need to do is flood the midfield, because they've only got 2 in there. So if they know that, we know that, surely Conte knows that. So there's something not quite right there. If he's playing a player that we all know cannot play as a 2, that cannot be right. And I'm going to have to put a little bit of pressure on him. Right, I'm going to see now. Is he going to play 2 against Manchester City on Saturday? Because if he does, 10-0, we're going to get slaughtered.
Look, against the likes of City and Liverpool, I do think he'll go with the 3-man midfield, because we already seen it against Liverpool. But against Southampton and Wolves, you should not be adapting your formation. Let's be honest about it. This is a formation that helped Conte go 9
expect a 3 against them
when he first came in, when he was using Højbjerg, when he was using the Skip in there. We shouldn't have to change it just to suit Harry Winks. That fucker should be out there training and improving his game to be able to fit into that team, so that when one of these guys drop out, he's ready to come in, and it's not so much of a downgrade. At the end of the day, Conte should not have to change a formation that he went 9 unbeaten, broke every other manager's record that walked in here at the start of Tottenham, going 9 unbeaten. He should not have to change that for one little dweeb who has not improved since fucking Pochettino, who's scared to get hurt because of one ankle injury. He shouldn't have to change it. He just shouldn't. It's absolute farce. It's an absolute farce. There is no way we should be going 3-man midfield against Southampton or against Wolves. We should have the ability in there to be able to handle that, no problem at all, and play around them. Without a shadow of a doubt, should not be changing formation.
I'd agree if it was Skip. I'd agree if it was Skip, not Harry Winks. He can't play in a 2. And I don't care which team it is. It's been proven. It's been proven on more than one occasion. We see it against the likes of
even
Mora.
when he was in good form.
What I'm trying to say to you. We've seen it. Conte's seen that against even lower level opposition in terms of NS Mora. So that to me is just negligence. It's negligence, because if teams have spotted that, it's not like we've not been under pressure. We don't control the football. If you don't control the football, you're going to be under more pressure. So as a 2-man midfield, if Harry Winks wouldn't be playing if Skip was fit, but if he's fit if Skip's not available and Harry, I've got to protect this guy because I want him, because he's got some quality. He can maybe spray a ball back if he's played in that number 4 position just behind, but he can't be a box-to-box. I can't accept that, because I've seen enough of it. We've all seen enough. Conte has to recognise that. And like I said, I expect when Skip comes back, we won't be seeing Harry Winks much. I hope we don't see him much, but he's still going to be an option, isn't he? He has to be. He has to be an option.
Hopefully he's an option in the transfer market. That's the only option I want him to be, to be honest with you.
Spot on.
Bentancur was 1v3 at times on
it's horrible.
Sunday. Like, I mean, I don't even think Winks. I don't even want to make excuses for this guy. You've already heard my vibe on him, but I don't want to make excuses on Winks. But he was probably not the worst player on the pitch on Sunday. But he was 1v3, Bentancur, because like Dave's saying, Winks was just hiding behind it all and not getting involved or really stuck in too much. He was probably better going forward than defensively. Like, I mean, he had that half volley, but I mean, again, we're slim pickings here. We're slim pickings.
Let me get the lube out and let me jack off to it. The guy's absolutely useless.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. It's slim pickings. I'm not saying like that means Winks is brilliant. I don't like him either, but I'm just saying like defensively, that's what he's really there for, and he can't do that skip role. And going back to Dave's point about sort of the centre mids that come and pick up the ball from right back, or they come and pick up the ball from the centre mids, centre backs, and come and push forward from that line between centre backs and strikers to get the play moving. We used to have in the late 2000s, early 2000s, Modric, Van der Vaart that used to do that. Then we had Moussa Dembele, and even Victor Wanyama was good at coming and picking up the ball. I remember he used to always like, give me the ball, and bang, it goes straight to the wing, straight up front, maybe to the centre mid, playing nice football. We don't have that anymore. We really don't. Højbjerg's the only one, or maybe even Skip at a push that can do that. We don't really ever have someone that's really that commanding and like, give me the ball, let's play. We just don't have. They always hide behind each other. That's the problem, Dave. That was their best point tonight, in my opinion.
I can't believe I'm defending Harry Winks here. And I shouldn't.
No, you were doing. You said you were being devil's advocate.
But I have to do it.
Devil's advocate, or even
regardless,
he played against Wolves. He played shocking in that first half. The second half, he was all right. The reason being, changed the formation, went to more of a 4-2-3-1 because the fact, as just said, the guy needs help. So if you're gonna play him, help him out. If he's gonna be effective in the game, help him out. And he was effective in the second half. First half, he was pants because we weren't playing to his strengths. And no, you're right. We can't build a team around Harry Winks. I'm not saying that. But if you're gonna play him, at least give him a chance to play a level that we can say, oh yeah, well, he's done all right, which we did in the second half. The second half, I said he was all right. First half, I thought, oh my God, like you were saying, James, 1v3 at times. That can't be right, but the player knows. He's probably in his head, he thinks, I can't play you two. I'll just hide behind this player here. That's what he does, because he's not able to play in midfield as a box-to-box. You need quality and you need players that have got much more than he has. And so we're going to fall over.
Well, even when he was in beside Moussa Dembele, he looked crap. Honestly, I'm overweight and I could go in and look like Ronaldinho beside Moussa Dembele. You know what I mean? But this guy couldn't. He was absolutely shocking. This guy cannot play centre midfield. It doesn't matter whether you put him in a 3, a 6, a 12, an 18, or a 20. It does not matter. This guy cannot play midfield. He doesn't have the football ability. He doesn't have the bravery. He doesn't have the strength. He cannot do every aspect of the game, and therefore he cannot play midfield. He's crap. He's got to go.
Yeah, I'd rather have Stambouli and Paulinho over Harry Winks. Honestly, I really would. I really would.
Any day.
Harry Winks, if you're watching, I tried my best, but they're not having it. They're not having it. I'm not having it either. But anyway.
Ben Taleb, I'll have you as well. Ben Taleb.
I'd take any of them. We'd take any of them.
Sandro.
PSS 19870 says Conte will always pressure Levy until he gets what he wants. That's what he did in Juve, Inter, and Chelsea. He will offload all deadwoods in the summer. He'll do exactly what he needs to do in order to succeed, and he'll voice exactly what he needs to do in order to succeed. If he needs to say a few things, to Sky Sports in order to put a bit of the pressure maybe on some of the people upstairs in order to actually get what he wants, he'll do it. He'll do exactly what he needs. PSS, you're absolutely spot on. And to be fair, if we see maybe at one stage, a similar sort of rant, if you've ever seen that rant, PSS, of when he was leaving Juve, where he just absolutely scolded everybody at Juve, if he did that at Spurs, that would be spectacular if he left at a certain stage. But Shane, I believe you did have to get off, around this time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, quarter past. I can stay till quarter past. If you want me to stay till quarter past, I've got...
Come on, we got one more pro. We got one more pro Winks rant in you. I know we have. 5 minutes. Let's go.
Listen,
in there.
I try and defend players where possible, because I know that playing at that sort of level, it's not easy. I can't do it. Most of us would love to play at that level, but for some reason, and its ability-wise, we're not. So therefore, they must be doing something to be able to get to that position. Now, there are levels within any sport. There's levels. He's not at the level that we require to take us forward into a top 4 position. However, we've seen bits. We've seen certain games where he has been more effective than others. However, the games I've seen him be effective in, he's never been effective in a 2. Whether that's a 4-4-2, whether that's a 3-4-3, he's never been effective. But if you're going to play him and he's not effective when you play a 2, you're surely not setting him up to achieve here. I'd rather set my players up to at least achieve to their ceiling. Play him as a 3. Play him in that 1 behind with 2 in front. That could be Winks, Højbjerg, Bentancur in front. Winks, Bentancur, Skip. I don't know what that combination would be, but if he's not part of the 3, get him out. But if he does come on, you've got to help him out, because we're going to have this time and time again, because we're going to get through to the end of the season without Harry Winks playing a major part in our success or failure.
But this is the thing, Shane. As a football club, we shouldn't be helping him out. He should be helping us out. That's why we've got to pay him.
I'm trying to play Devils. I'm done with the Devils now, Jack, because I can't do it. I can't defend him no more. I'm taking... I can't defend Harry Winks anymore. I've tried.
No, you can't. It's indefensible. It's indefendable.
And Harry Winks can't defend either. So, yeah.
That's another part. But we do have, some super chats still flying in. We still have, some more questions to get to, Shane. So I figured, might as well just give you a big lengthy time maybe to plug the channel. No need to rush it or anything. Tell us, what we can find over at Paxton Road TV, maybe apart from Harry Winks, maybe, Devil's Advocate defenses.
Well, you'll probably just find us ranting. Like I said, after that game on Wolves, it was just rant city. I think we just got to be prepared for roller coasters. So again, if you want to be part of a roller coaster ride, pop across the Paxton Road. We'll see what happens on Saturday, because it's going to be very interesting. But we're always try to be positive. You've got to, as fans, this is what I'm saying, we're supporters. Yeah. We've got to support the team. But we can give our opinions, and this is what this is all about. So we give our opinions over at Paxton Road. All you guys have been on that channel, so I know you know what it's like. And it's fantastic. Again, smash a like for this channel, smash a like for Spurs Related, and smash a like for Paxton Road. So all of you go across now, smash a like on Spurs Related, smash a like on Paxton Road. Also, subscribe, then come back here.
I've just actually subscribed on my second account, Shane, and I've just seen you guys do Winks Wednesdays, so I can't wait to tune in for that next week. It's unbelievable.
And I will say, Shane is the best coach I know in the Spurs fan base as well. So please do get over there and smash that subscribe button. He knows exactly what he's talking about.
Amen.
Thank you. I try. It's hard work with Spurs, because sometimes things are just unexplainable. It's just unexplainable what they do.
You found a way. You found ways to try to explain things that I thought nobody would ever dare to try, Shane. So I would say big up to you. But Shane, absolute pleasure having you on tonight, my man. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, James. See you all soon. And thank you to the viewers as well. Keep on smashing the like. Loads of you in the chat still. Smash that like button. Get this over. What average? 3, 4, 5, 6,000. Get him to 10,000. 10,000 views on this. That's what we want to see.
That's what we want to see. Beautiful, Shane. Beautiful.
Nice one,
Shane. Man. Catch it.
Nice one. See you later.
Thank you, mate. Take care.
Absolutely smashed it. Used that time well, I will say, and absolutely flew by this time period so far. But Tin Man 007, everybody head on over to Paxton Road. But just want to say PSS to Bottom Duda, Jerome, everyone else beforehand. Really do appreciate the support. Yeah. Lots of support coming in tonight. And Tin Man 007 saying, take a pick, guys. Leave your Mason as the next Spurs manager. Who will take this job? If Conte walks, which, to be honest, would be a disaster. I think Ryan Mason part 2 makes most sense, guys. He's being primed, for it by Antonio Conte. He's part of the backroom staff. I'd say it's Ryan Mason,
I'm only after clearing a headache, Tim, man. You're giving me another one. All this Winks talk and picking between Levy and Mason. It's giving me another one. Yeah, look. Do you know what? I'm going to go different. If Levy thinks that Conte and Jose Mourinho should be able to get better out of these players, well, then get your tracksuit on and get down to the dugout. There you go. Daniel Levy in the dugout. I mean, maybe, rocking a flat cap. Who knows? That would be scary. No, if he rocked the flat cap, I'd start rocking baseball caps. We'd have to unflat cap ourselves. But James, do you feel like Mason, Levy, who's the next Spurs manager?
Do you know what? I'm going to put another one out there. Maybe Joe Lewis. He must be doing his coaching badges or something. We never see him. He's never at the stadium. He must be like investing his time on learning football. So let's put Joe Lewis in the dugout at his age of 84. Why not?
The online coaching badges from the yacht, in the Caribbean actually sounds like, not a bad place to study up. But seems like Mason, Lewis, as well as Levy. So 3 different answers for you there, Tin Man. No majority. So I guess you're just going to have to give us yours. But do let us know, Tin Man. Big yourself up, my man. Do appreciate
Maybe let's get Juan de Ramos back.
Whoever Tin Man picks is the decider. No, Juan de Ramos. Although he was good for a Carling Cup, to be fair.
Exactly, he's a winner.
he's got the football IQ. He's got the football IQ that the Antonio Conte is talking about.
When you look at it like that, Juan de Ramos is our last cup-winning manager. And we've had Pochettino, Jose Mourinho, Conte. He nearly got us relegated, but he's the last manager to win us a cup. So maybe put Jonathan Woodgate in the dugout. He's got a winning mentality as well off his face. So maybe that as well.
The bottom dude is saying, who do you play if not Winks till Skip is back? He was bad, but we are short in the midfield. Maybe that's what Conte meant about weakening. Potentially see what you're saying to bottom dude, but I feel like, yes, until Skip is back, Winks is going to continue to probably maybe feature every once in a while. The thing is, though, maybe to find a bit of a happy medium for Winks here, you start with a 2-man midfield of Højbjerg and Bentancur. Perhaps if you're trying to shore up a game, you bring on later Harry Winks to form a 3-man midfield. You finish out the game with a 3-man midfield. And so maybe you don't get so overrun. And so you can also hold on to a lead potentially. So I would say Harry Winks coming off the bench forms a 3-man midfield with Bentancur and Højbjerg until Skip is back. That's how I can see it being done. But I don't see it as necessarily an excuse. I feel like, I don't know. I see how he is short in midfield, but I don't know. It is actually probably because he is short in midfield and Winks just had to play and he had to get the best of it. I do see what you're saying to bottom Duda, but that would be my solution to it is just bring on Winks at the end of games to shore things up, to bring on that man, to be that extra body in the midfield. Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, just quickly, I'll give another option. Look, Højbjerg, I think I'd put in there beside Bentancur all day long. But if not Højbjerg, stick Harvey White in there. Guarantee you won't see any more Harry Winks doing a press conference saying I need a run of games, which he's been given, by the way, to be able to hit form. I can guarantee you he'll end up going back working hard because there's nothing more embarrassing than losing your place to a youth player. So stick Harvey White in there. That's what I do.
Good point.
Yeah, test him. Even if Bentancur is probably already making him scared, Harvey White can make him even more scared. Gaurav Tarava, TVHK, pick yourself up, my man, saying, hey, boys, can Spurs try a 3-5-2 in which Kulu is the cam behind Son and Kane as a striker? Can he provide those passes for scoring? Can he provide those passes for scoring? I'd like to think so, actually, Gaurav, especially with the way he was able to play passes in between the lines. He seemed to actually do better through the middle than he did out wide. It felt like actually Kulusevski. Is that what Conte will do? I don't really think so, my man. He doesn't really seem to play that sort of number 10 kind of player that will play with his back to goal. He doesn't really like his midfielders to play with their back to goal. He kind of wants them all to be, facing, the front line. He wants them all to kind of be doing that box to box sort of role. He doesn't really want some sort of number 10 just kind of roaming around in there. I could see how that could work, though, especially because Kulusevski was good at playing the balls in behind through the middle, though, Dave. So what are your thoughts? Maybe Kulusevski could form a 3-5-2, or do you not really see that happening?
I can definitely see where Gaurav is coming from. He's not a centre attacking midfielder, though, Kulu, is he? Look, where we're at right now, I'll be honest with you, I probably would give it a go, Jack. Where we're at right now, look, you've got to try something. If you want to allow Højbjerg and Bentancur to maybe sit a bit deeper, you can bring Kulu in then to bring that link man between midfield and attack. But otherwise, I'm not. Look, I just don't think it's a system Conte wants to go down. To be honest with you, I think he's setting his 3-4-3. That's what he wants to go with. But look, if it's not working, he probably will have to change it up. So I would definitely give this a shot. Does Kulu have the ability to find Kane and Son in behind? I'm not sure, he's not Christian Eriksen, is he, to be honest with you?
No.
But look, what he can do is maybe be a bit direct, pick the ball up, run at them. But if he's going to do that, like, I'll be honest with you, what I've seen against Wolves is there's so much space in behind and down the sides of Wolves. And not once between Lucas or Son did they try and make them runs in behind. Not once. Harry Kane, he was putting himself in between the defenders looking for the ball. It did not come. But not once did any of our forward players try and exploit them going in behind. So if you're putting Kulu in there to do that, you're going to have to instruct Son and Lucas. Use your pace, get in behind, and spread that defence. Because what it then does is create space then further on in the game for Kulu to play with, because their defence is dropping deeper, worrying about Son and Lucas's plays and that pace. It also frees up Harry Kane in the middle then, whether if he wants to drop in and take the ball off Kulu or whatever it may be. But if we are going to do that, you're going to have to instruct these players then to start running in behind.
Yeah, you stole my line, Dave. I was gonna say to this, like, you could have a 3-5-2 on paper if that happens, or maybe even a 3-4-1-2, depends how you see it. But even if you say Kulusevski's the centre attacking mid and it's Kane and Son up front, for example, Kane's naturally going to drop deeper anyway, right? So Kulusevski can afford to stay up front more than with Son, and therefore, yes, he's not the paciest guy, but maybe he can knock the ball down to Son, and then you got Kane running in and tracking back and spraying the passes to Son and Kulusevski, because let's utilize the strengths for a minute. Kane's amazing at pinging passes. We know that. He's amazing at assisting players. His vision is ridiculous for a striker. He's naturally going to drop deeper as to number 10 as his career goes on. So if you do a 3-5-2 on paper, don't be deceived, and you could see Kane and Kulusevski almost swap. Also, another option for this, for me, for Guarav's question would be, let's not forget Lucas Moura isn't playing well at the moment, right?
Yeah.
But when he was playing well, for me, his best time of playing well and his best period of run of games was last season when he was playing number 10. Now, when he was playing in number 10, Lucas Moura, he makes direct runs. He causes problems. He's not afraid to run at defenders. Lucas Moura, for me, at times plays better as a number 10 than when he is wide. He gets a little bit lost at times. He tries to do something fancy. Whereas at number 10, he just is direct. And I feel like he is a threat at number 10. Sometimes when you have to mix it up, that is definitely an option.
Beautifully broken down by both of you there, I must say, tactically. Well done, lads. Honestly, it sounds like maybe that's the fourth maybe contention for who might be getting that Spurs job after Conte leaves, or you two. Look, honestly, well broken down, my guys. Well broken down. But we are going to move on here. Really do big yourself up, though, Go Rob. Really do like it, though, my man. Really do appreciate the comments. But we are going to keep moving on, lads. Probably going to start giving you guys maybe to a degree, kind of one question at a time, kind of really dominate, your own sort of answer. Make the answer your own, you might say. The reporter, though, again, though, asking Antonio Conte, saying, is there something similar between your first Inter Milan side and this Tottenham side? And he said, should you find something like this, it is always difficult to make comparisons, but surely when you take the job in a team that hasn't won for a long time, it is inevitable that you will lack confidence. The confidence is down, and many times at the first obstacle, you will throw yourself down, and many times the negativity increases even more. Sometimes you grant goals that you struggle to accept. This has been happening to us in the last period. This is a part of a process of a team that has to grow a lot to try to be competitive. Right now, we are one of the many teams that are in the middle. They need to work a lot, and this does not scare me at all, says Conte. James, Conte mentioned negativity and lack of confidence for the squad after the first obstacle that he said that they hit. Where do you think that lack of confidence and negativity began after that initial honeymoon period? Because we had that honeymoon period of, doing really well under Conte, where we were, just kind of brushing teams aside. And now he's saying we've hit that first obstacle. Where do you think that obstacle was? Was it the Chelsea results? Was it maybe Southampton with that initial 1-1 draw? Was it Southampton, the 3-2 defeat? Where do you think that first obstacle was hit?
I think the first obstacle was going out of the cup to Chelsea, and then on the back of that, in the same week, losing in the Premier League to Chelsea, 2 defeats in a week to our main rivals other than Arsenal. Chelsea are on that level as well. And then obviously we got the win against Brighton. We were through in the FA Cup. I feel like that was the end of the honeymoon. We were like going nuts, going, oh yeah, we're through in the FA Cup. We put aside Brighton, who have been decent this season. And then that week, last week, Southampton and Wolves at home. You think it's 6 points. We're all saying 6 points on the podcasts. We're thinking it's 6 points in the bag at home at our fortress, by the way. We were calling it a fortress less than a week ago. Bang, 0 out of 6 points, 1 goal scored, 5 conceded. I mean, that's the big block. That's like if you're going over a speed bump, you got Chelsea, boom.
That was
and then you got Southampton and Wolves, bang. And now we're starting to panic. Now we're starting to talk about, oh yeah, January wasn't good enough. Let's be honest. If we won against Wolves and Southampton, we wouldn't be saying January was a fail already. That was always going to be the case. We said it. Dave said it. I remember Jack, you saying it. We were always going to link back to January if we do hit these roadblocks, if we do hit these barriers. And that's already starting to be looked at. Now, I don't think that's fair. I think we have to judge it at the end of the season. Then we can say January wasn't a success or wasn't wasn't spent. But then obviously the summer, and that's a whole different topic. But in answer to your question, I think Chelsea was the first one of the 2 big sort of stumbling blocks so far.
I think that's a really good, one to maybe point towards. I really like that answer, James. For me personally, could it be Chelsea? It could be, because those are the games when you really build even extra confidence, because they already had that initial layer of confidence, James. So perhaps when they came up against Chelsea that many times in a row and just got demolished each time, perhaps that really did, really lose that sort of confidence, because you'd like to think that the Southampton result could have done it, but maybe it really was more those Chelsea sort of results that just kind of made them think, like, it just gave them that reality check that maybe they just didn't need, or didn't, perhaps it just didn't come at the right time. I just feel like that sort of reality check from Chelsea. I do agree with you. But Dave, Inter Milan had not really won anything for a long time. Let's remember that before Conte came in. But Conte managed to turn them around and change the culture back into a winning team. What was, maybe different about the rejuvenation of Inter versus his ongoing revival of Spurs? Like, what do you think the difference is between the 2 clubs and maybe both of those kind of rejuvenation processes?
Time is the obvious one. Look, Conte's only been here a short amount of time. Compared to what he was at Inter, he's going to need a bit more time to be able to change that, but also bringing in the players that he wanted to bring in, Jack.
Fair.
He brought in a 33, 34-year-old Ashley Young. He brought Victor Moses with him, if I'm correct.
Lukaku.
Amongst others, he was able to bring in exactly what he wanted to bring, and I think that's the biggest difference. Are we going to allow him to do that at Tottenham? I'm not sure. It remains to be seen. But they're the 2 biggest things: is time and doing it Conte's way. Not like Inter didn't bring in Conte and say, okay, we're going to sign the players and you're going to work with them. They brought in Conte and said, look, we haven't won anything in so long. You're a winner. What do you need? And they went out and done it his way. And that is the biggest thing, Jack. And that's where we're at right now. We haven't won anything in 13 years, but we've won 1 trophy in 21 years. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, if you're going to bring in this guy and you want to be bringing him in to be able to go and compete and win trophies, you have to do it his way. No manager is ever going to succeed long-term if you do not do it his way. If you bring him in and you do it your way, you're setting the managers up for failure.
Yeah, I think you are setting up the managers for failure. I think you're spot on, Dave, to be fair, actually. I think we're just going to keep plowing through though, lads, because I think, you really covered that, section really, really well. We are going to move on to the next one where he did, he's kind of asked, kind of a follow-up question to a degree on, his initial, kind of understanding of what the Spurs job really meant, what that entailed. He basically continues on that, and he says, when you are outside, you can never make certain assessments. So from the outside, it may seem something different when you take over a situation. It is inevitable that taking over in a current year is never easy. I promised myself not to do it because I only did it once, and I promised myself not to do it again. Then there is this desire, the desire to always question oneself, even in very, very difficult situations, such as this one of Tottenham, because Tottenham has been in the middle of the table for so many years. But this did not scare me. I glimpsed situations that have been developed. Then when you enter the situation, you understand that something, however, what happened in January is not easy. That's the part that I'm so confused about. 4 players left in January, 4 important players, and for Tottenham to have arrived. So even numerically, instead of reinforcing yourself in quotes, you may have on paper weakened. I think that's also a really interesting part, everybody, the part where he says on paper, but as well, he says, then precise choices were made for many reasons, but I certainly never expected that in January. 4 players who I still considered important would change their shirts for 1,000 reasons. This shows the difficulty. Tottenham in the last session of the summer transfer market, or Tottenham in the last season of the summer transfer market ended January, changed 8 players. Dave, 4-time Serie A champion, 2-time Supercoppa Italiana, 1-time Premier League champion, 1-time FA Cup winner. It's no secret Conte is a top-class coach, but this is the problem. He is a winner who has worked with world-class players wherever he's been. Should a successful coach, Dave, change his ways to suit Tottenham, or should an unsuccessful chairman change his ways to suit a successful manager?
I mean, Conte has more trophies than what Daniel Levy does in 21 years, so I think that'll give you your answer, Jack. Tottenham need to change their ways to suit Antonio Conte. Conte's ways are proven. Daniel Levy's isn't. 1 trophy in 21 years. Yes, you can argue, that we were in positions to be able to win trophies, but you'd also argue, did Daniel Levy give Pochettino every single tool to be able to compete in them finals? No, he didn't. He skipped out on transfer windows. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Conte has won more trophies than Tottenham Hotspur, and then Daniel Levy in the over the last couple of years, and Daniel Levy's had 21 years to do it. So I think we need to turn around to Conte's ways. Look, Jack, I've been saying this a while, like whether it was under Jose or whatever. Eventually, you're going to have to turn around and do a manager's way to be able to steer this ship in the right direction to where it needs to go. Even if it's not Conte and it's fucking Ten Hag or they bring in Harry Potter and it's him. Eventually, they're going to have to pick a manager to decide on that manager and just go it his way. Why wouldn't you do it under Conte? He's a proven winner. Jack, like I said, you do it Conte's way, not Daniel Levy's way. Daniel Levy's way is fun. It's brought a nice stadium, a nice training complex and everything else, but it's only bought 1 trophy. And I want trophies in football. I'm greedy. You ask the players, do they want to play in nice stadiums and training complexes, or do they want trophies? They're going to pick trophies every single day of the week. It's why they get into football. Well, unless you're Winks and Sanchez and Davies, they'd probably prefer to play in the nice stadiums and that. But, you ask Harry Kane and Son, they want the trophies, Jack.
Yeah, they want the trophies. They don't really care as much about the training ground. James, do you think Conte is upset that one of Tanguy, Gio Dele, or Hill have left? Or do you think he's maybe upset that we didn't bring in at least a second midfielder or a right wing back to fill those missing spots? Because that's where people are really confused. He's talking about the 4 players that have left as really important and players that he thought were important. Do you think he really thought those players were important to him? Or do you think he's just saying they were important because we didn't replace them?
I think he's saying they were important when he came in. He thought Tanguy and Ndombele, Giovanni Lo Celso,
or they
Dele
used to be important, or whatever.
He thought they were good players, and he thought they were important to Tottenham because they were such expensive players, or especially Gio and Tanguy. He thought when he came into the club that they would probably be in the starting 11, right? And he spent 2 months with them, realised they're not good enough, especially Dele Alli. We knew he wasn't good enough for a couple of seasons. He's realised they're not good enough. They've offloaded them. And maybe he's disappointed that Tanguy and Ndombele hasn't become a player that maybe, don't forget he went for Ndombele when he was at Inter Milan. So maybe he thought, okay, I get to work with Tanguy and Ndombele now. I wanted him at Inter Milan. I went for him when I was Inter Milan manager. I've seen him in training. I've seen him in games when I've used him for Spurs. Oh my goodness, why did I go for this? It's disappointing. That's the word, isn't it? It's what was the word he used? The exact word?
Let's see. Important? Are you saying when it comes to the players?
Yeah. He said something about these are important players. But
yeah, they're important players. Yeah.
He probably thought they were important, but actually 2 months in, Conte's realised that these players aren't important. It's actually important to get rid of them. So maybe Brian Hill, maybe he wasn't too happy about that. Who knows? I think that's the one that's up for debate. But I think the other 3, he started to realise that they're not actually important for Spurs, but maybe he thought they were when he came in.
I think that's a good answer there, James. And, hopefully, I don't know, just hopefully Antonio Conte has some sort of, understanding of maybe the implications of what he said, because a lot of people are starting to question whether he even wanted those players to even go now. And I think we should be confident that he did, because he wasn't using them in the first place. But those quotes that he did, I mean, seriously, did confuse us dramatically. The bottom Duda, though, saying, can we see another Conte classic 4-2-4 he used at Bari? Kane, Bergwijn as strikers, Son and Kulu as wingers, 4-4-2 without the ball. Højbjerg gets stuck in. I mean, without the ball, Højbjerg gets stuck in. Dave, I mean, this 4-2-4, really defensive wingbacks, maybe, really hard-nosed, kind of midfielders, and then just all flying, attackers up top. Could that work?
Not if Harry Winks is one of the two. We know what's going to happen there straight away. But look, I can see where the bottom do is coming from. But as much as we want to put 4 in the forward areas to maybe stop them from playing out, they'll just give the ball back to Ederson and he'll just ping it long straight over Sanchez's head, like we've seen before, straight onto Gundogan or whoever's making that run in behind, and they score. So I'm not sure I'll be honest with you. I'd probably do what we done under Nuno. Just sit back and try and put in some speedy players and try and catch them on the counter. But the 4-2-4, I'm not sure, because all I have to do is give the ball to Emerson. That's long over Sanchez's head, and they're in behind. And if we're going to sit here and think that Guardiola hasn't told whoever's playing up front to constantly make runs in behind Sanchez and to be an outball for Ederson, then we're sadly mistaken. He's been onto that weeks ago.
Yeah, he's already.
And listen, the 4-2-4. The other thing is the 4-2-4 doesn't work in the Premier League unless you're Man City, right? And you have the quality and the strength in there. And 4 at the back again. Conte's not going to go to it because Emerson and Reguilon are attacking wing backs. Then Reguilon can defend better than Emerson, right? But Emerson can't defend. Neither can Doherty to an extent. Emerson can go forward, and Reguilon's good at going forward. That's their strengths. These not our fullbacks at the moment. This squad certainly wouldn't be able to play a 4 at the back for me. I mean, you could see it under Mourinho. It was cracking. It was absolutely crumbling under it.
To bottom Duda, maybe he could go back to those days at Bari, but I'm not sure, my man. I really
also
am not
that's
sure.
Serie B. That's Serie B.
Yeah, that is Serie B as well. Yeah. So yeah, really hard to probably translate that to the Premier League. But the bottom Duda, I like the effort and I like, the optimism towards it. I also like, I like the knowledge and I like the research as well to bottom Duda. I really do. It's honestly spot on, my man.
Yeah, good knowledge though. Good top knowledge. Yeah.
Top knowledge, top research there to bottom Duda, really. And also quite impressive. Also really appreciate the generosity and the continued support as well to bottom Duda. But James, has Antonio Conte, do you feel like he's underestimated the scale of the job that needs to be done maybe at Spurs? Do you think from his quotes that he has the desire to stick it out and turn it around? Do you feel like he knows what he's getting into? Is this what he's kind of talking about? Is like, I listen, guys, it takes a lot to do this job. Do you think that's what he's trying to do, is just explain that maybe he did know what he was getting into? I'm talking to James here. Yeah, James here.
Dave's just trying to no. I would say he's going to stick it out. He will stick it out. The only hint where you can see him walking is if he's genuinely not properly backed in the summer. And
do you think he underestimated it quickly, or do you think he knew what he was getting into?
I think he knew what he was getting into. I think it's no secret he would have done his research and realized Jose Mourinho, serial winner, ended up losing his job, and it became a tenure where, I mean, he got to a final and it didn't get to play the final. He's probably researched that. He's got a team around him. He knows that Tottenham are ruthless with those decisions, and he knows that the club is in turmoil from Champions League final in 2019 to 2021, talking about potentially top 4 and being a Europa League, Conference League side, and then going out. He knows where they were. Yeah, I don't think he's silly.
Yeah, I don't think he's silly either. And to be fair, I hope he knows what he's getting into, and I hope he knows that, perhaps this could be a job where he's going to have to, wait for expectations and results to come a bit later than maybe sooner. But I don't know. It certainly will be tough. But we are going to move on to the next little section that Conte did break down. But first, maybe take that super chat from Moondog actually really quickly. And he says, maybe Sanchez and Winks could put their boots on the wrong feet. It's worth a try. They can't play any worse, Dave. Perhaps, they've just been I don't know, Dave. Like, Dave, actually, this could be true. Perhaps they need to just put their boots on the wrong feet. Perhaps Harry Winks is, a number 10. Maybe Sanchez is a number 9. Maybe they've just all been, led down the wrong path by their under 10s, coach at one stage in their career.
Yeah, just quickly, Moondog, just be careful what you say when Neo's in the building. We know he likes to cry. He's still crying about something that was said here a couple of weeks ago that had nothing to do with animal violence whatsoever, and he's still crying about it. So just be careful, because he might try and pick apart the comment and say you're being disrespectful and stuff like that. But Moondog, I definitely agree with you, my man. Maybe do put the shoes on the wrong feet, and because what else can we do? We've tried different managers, try different tactics, training, psychology, and everything else. It's got to be the boots, Moondog. It has to be the boots. They're not putting them on the right feet, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say maybe as well. Maybe Harry Winks is a number 10. Maybe, Sanchez is a number 9. That's what I would say, Moondog. Perhaps they've just been led astray. Perhaps they've just been led astray at one stage in their careers.
I wouldn't even be surprised if Davinson Sanchez, back in Colombia at under 10s level was actually a striker. And then his coach turned around to him one day and said, look, man, you're quite tall for your age. I reckon you might do well in centre back. And it's stuck ever since. And he's actually got no defensive capabilities. He's somehow managed to kind of cheat his way at Ajax and buy a living.
Yeah, maybe he was just told, listen, you can make it here in the Colombian league, but your first touch is always 10 yards in front of you. If you want to, make it anywhere, you're going to have to move to a center back. Maybe that's what he was told, because the first touch just isn't good enough. But who knows? Sanchez is the new backup number 9 for Harry Kane. We have our backup number 9, everybody, but we are going to move on again to the future quotes here. And again, Conte was asked during a press conference, you said there were opportunities in the January market, but were there any opportunities Tottenham could have seized and missed? And he said, it is inevitable that in January, it is very difficult to get 2 players like Bentancur and Kulusevski to sign, who I repeat are the ideal prospects for Tottenham, because Tottenham is looking for young players to be developed, not ready players. This is the speech. Do you feel like, Dave, is Conte the right manager to develop, these sort of prospect players that he's talking about or is he maybe a manager that solely relies on experienced players who are ready to come straight in? Is he just basically, saying like, if you want to give me younger players, I can do it. But if you want me to succeed right away, give me experienced players and I can show you what I'm made of.
Look, he's a winner. He wants to play. I think what he's getting at with the likes of Bentancur and Kulusevski is that maybe they weren't playing at Inter or at Juve. So they were always going to come in and maybe have that bit of adaptation period until they hit the ground running. I think that's more what he's frustrated about. I think if we went and got players who were playing in a team week in, week out, maybe in and around between 27 and 32 players that are hardened, seasoned professionals. They know how to win games. They know how to get you over the line. They know all the tricks of the trade. And I think that's what Conte wants. Conte wants winners. He wants guys that are already meat, that are ready to go, that'll do the dirty work, that'll do the hard yards, the running, the seasoned pros, Jack. That's what this guy wants in. He wants to go and win trophies straight away. Look, I've seen this guy as a player. He's a very good player, very tenacious. This guy just wants to win. He hates losing just as much as we do. He doesn't have time to bring in players and pull up video clips and say, look, here, you need to be nasty. You should have took him out. Or here, you should have took a yellow. Here, you should have played this pass here. He doesn't have time right now in the middle of the season to be coaching these players, telling them exactly what they need to be doing. He wants players that are, you buy them in, you put them in the team, and it'll look like they've been here all along. But that's what happens when you buy seasoned pros, Jack. You put them in the team, and they look like they've been here for so long because they know all the tricks of the trade. They know all the dark arts. They know what you need to do to win a game. And I think that's probably what he's alluding to.
I think he probably could be alluding that to James. Another kind of element of, that previous, sort of, question. I feel like it's a very direct sort of question when you kind of look at it, James, when basically they're just saying, were opportunities missed? Do you feel like Conte is just kind of avoiding the question with this sort of answer here? Because if he were to answer it, directly, he would basically just be saying Spurs made a mistake. And maybe that's why his answer here is so confusing.
Yeah, listen, these guys are massively media trained. If they're asked a question they don't like, and they're briefed before they go in. The same with the players, as the managers. They're briefed to not let anything spill. Even if, like at home, if he was asked that question behind closed doors with no cameras, he might have gone, "Yeah, actually, I wanted one or two more players." But he's never ever going to say that to the media, right?
No.
But also, I feel like this line was the weirdest line without reading too much into it. The fact he said we're looking for young players that can go on to be, world-class players. Like Dave was saying, Conte's used to getting these world-class players already made. And the way I look at it is like when Jose Mourinho was at Man United, for example, and I know that didn't go as well as it should have done, but like he was linked with players like Nemanja Matic, right? Seasoned pro, experience, won several leagues, won several titles, brilliant central midfield player, and got him in and did a job for Man United, right? Because he's so experienced. For me, I feel like Conte's almost saying this, and I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong, but the way I see it is like he's almost being told this to say something along the lines of we're looking for young players that can go on to be great players because we're never going to buy a world-class player in January that's 60, 70 million pounds. So I feel like he's been told to say this almost in a weird way because therefore it looks like, oh yeah, oh look, Levy and Enoch have ticked the box again. We signed a young player in Kulusevski, brilliant. He can come on to be something really good. When actually what he probably wants to say is, actually, I wanted some seasoned pro that's going to cost 60, 70 million for a buyout clause, but actually we're not going to sign him in January, which is realistic. But also it's like, okay, these young players can go on and do some great stuff. And I'm sure he did want Kulusevski and Bentancur away, but I don't think they were at his priority list. I don't think they were at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Kulusevski was an opportunist deal, and same as Bentancur. Where, look, they're good players, but Kulusevski is one we were hoping to do in the summer. But because he became available this January, I think Tottenham were kind of like, well, if this is a player we want as a long-term target, we can't afford to wait around till the summer because someone else will snap him up. So we need to sacrifice maybe one of them players to get Kulusevski in the door. And I think that's what happened because we wanted Jesse Lingard. Whether people like him or not, he's won things at United. He's a seasoned pro. And we just couldn't get him from United. They did not want to help us in the top four battle. So it's very hard to get them sort of players that maybe Conte wanted this January. And look, we just have to accept it. I mean, the January window is 1 month, not 3 months. And it's an opportunist window. That's what January is.
Yeah, it is an opportunist window. I think that is something we sometimes do have to come to terms with. Final little quotes here, everybody, to break down before we do end off the show. He's asked, about this whole ready players, versus, young players. And the reporter asked, is it possible to grow with players like that and not with ready players? And he said, but here was the link. The vision, the philosophy of the club is this. It is inevitable that if you want to grow faster and if you want to be competitive more quickly, you need players with a lot of experience because they also lead to an increase in experience in your team. But then again, the vision of the club, I realized, is this, and I will continue to be this. For this reason, it will take a lot of patience, everybody, and I will continue to explain it to the whole environment and to the fans.
Jack, I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
The reason why he's saying this is because of what you say about him not ever having to work with these guys. Say it.
Well, Dave, what I've tried to say maybe 1,000 different times is just if anybody that wants to criticize Antonio Conte for what he's maybe done wrong so far with Spurs, they have to probably ask themselves 3 years ago, everybody, if someone had told you 3 years ago, Antonio Conte is not getting the best out of Davinson Sanchez, Antonio Conte, he's not using Harry Winks right, I would have probably responded to you realizing what the hell has happened to Antonio Conte, where he's now having to be using, Harry Winks. He's having to use Davinson Sanchez. Why on earth is Antonio Conte being dealt with these players? Why on earth are these sort of players being mentioned in the same sentence as Antonio Conte? This is why my feeling is that Antonio Conte, as much as maybe he has perhaps got things wrong with the squad, the fact that he even is working with these sort of players, the fact that he even is bending down, kind of, stepping beneath his level to work with the likes of Davinson Sanchez and Winks's the world, I think just says a lot about the guy. I think it says a lot about maybe what he's trying to take on at this club. And I think it says a lot about maybe why we probably shouldn't criticize him too harshly, because if you're telling Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, that they're not getting the best out of Davinson Sanchez, you probably would slap yourself in the face or something for saying something like that, because it just sounds ridiculous to say out loud. And I think it's the same thing with Antonio Conte. The fact that we're even saying Antonio Conte is not getting the best out of certain players when he's gotten the best out of Paul Pogba, he's gotten the best out of Andrea Pirlo, he's gotten the best out of Marquisio, he's gotten the best out of Lautaro Martinez, he's gotten the best out of Barella, he's gotten the best out of Brozovic, he's gotten the best out of Matic, N'Golo Kante, he's gotten the best out of world-class players, but apparently, we're criticizing him for not getting the best out of average, if not lower than average players. So that's my really feelings on it, Dave. And perhaps you're right. These quotes kind of exemplify that.
No, 100%. This is exactly what he's saying, Jack. It's exactly what he's saying. He has sat there and he has heard fans saying, "Oh, why is he playing this formation? Why doesn't he play that formation?" From people that are probably managing under sixes. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, just back to what you said, Jack. Of course, he's going to get things wrong because he's set up to get things wrong because of some of the players he has to work with. He hears what fans are saying. He hears what people are saying in the media where they question his tactics. Why'd you play this player? Why'd you play that player? But the guy has no option. His hands are tied. And that is basically exactly what he's saying here, Jack. And that's why he's saying, I'm going to keep saying it to the fans. He knows we do not have ready-made winners. And that's why he has to work with Winks. That's why he has to work with Sanchez. And that's where the frustration is coming from. And he hears people saying, basically in a way, when you're questioning Conte, you're sticking up for Winks and Sanchez. I'm putting it out there. You are. Yeah. If you question his tactics, you are sticking up for Winks and Sanchez, and you clearly think they're good enough. Do not come to me and say they're not good enough, but then question Conte's tactics. Do not do it, because it's not the case. Conte is a born winner. We knew that when he came in. That's why we all got a fucking stiffy when he signed, right? But now, because things aren't going well, and it's the same players that let down Jose, the same players that let down Pochettino, are now starting to let down Conte, all of a sudden, we're reverting to type. No, it's the manager. It's the manager. Why is he playing this tactic? Why has he put this player in there? Look, people say, I need to be real. Be real with yourselves. It's these players that are costing them. And that's why you see that quote there. Jack, you hit the nail on the head.
And maybe just a few kind of wrap up sort of kind of questions here, guys. To you first, James, is Conte maybe throughout this whole interview, throughout all the quotes that we've discussed today, is Conte making a sly dig, in multiple, areas towards Daniel Levy, and maybe his vision of the club is this kind of a lot of sly digs made by Antonio Conte towards Daniel Levy's, transfer policies and just his philosophy around Spurs in general? Do you think he's basically calling out Daniel Levy?
Again, like I said, from the very start, I think we can dissect this as much as possible and maybe make conclusions. But also from those last two quotes there, like I said from the one previously, I feel like he's been drilled to say that about, we're trying to sign young players and then make them experienced. And then he follows up with, that's the way of Tottenham. That's the ethos, or whatever it was he said along those lines of, they buy young and they try and make them experienced. He's basically saying that from the top, probably, he's been told that, like I said again, without repeating myself, he can't get these world-class players in that he's been used to at other clubs because A, it's not feasible in January, and B, Spurs probably don't have the pull to pull these players in, even in the summer. That's why I'm also worried, because we can be linked with all these world-class players, and we're already linked with Pau Torres, Bastoni, Sven Botman. But actually, are we going to get these players, number one? Or is Conte saying, I might have to work with young players and bring them through, which I'm not actually used to doing? He's not used to doing that.
Not part of my repertoire.
It's out of his comfort zone. So it's almost like he's trying to get a new experience, but actually he's like, come on, guys, I need world-class players to produce these winning, these titles. And, the other thing that worries me about Spurs, without going off on the subject, is we don't have many winners in the team. We have Hugo Lloris that's won the World Cup. We have Pepe Matasar coming in that's won the African Cup of Nations. But other than that, right? And unless I'm missing something blaringly obvious, maybe Lucas won something at PSG, like the the league and the League Cup or whatever. But other than that, what actually has this club won, and what winners do we have in the team that know how to get over the line and
No, none.
perform
And
for a manager like this that
you're
wins
spot on.
trophies? Because
Spot
Harry
on. I've
Winks
said this
isn't going to go,
before.
actually, I'm going to drag this team by the balls and, win a trophy. Sanchez hasn't got experience. We might have won an Eredivisie or whatever it's called. But, like, these
He lost the
players
Europa
haven't
League
won
final
anything.
because Jose Mourinho fucking pinpointed him as the player that had lose them the final. But yet Tottenham go and sign him. Not that one out.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And it's not just Conte that's a winner that's coming to this club. Like we know, Jose Mourinho is a born, serial winner. He's won multiple trophies in multiple countries. And even he didn't even get the chance to play his final, but he didn't even manage to get, to win anything. So, the fact Conte's basically, like I said before, setting off the flare and saying, come on, I need some world-class players to work with. So I do think it is slide digs, Jack, but also at the same time, don't read into it too much. Don't go, oh yeah, Conte's like starting to throw his toys out of the pram and he's going to walk in the summer. I don't think it's that, but I also think it's, I need some help in the summer if you want me to actually do my shit.
Yeah. I mean, level-headed answer there from you, James. I must say, didn't crack under the pressure there, speaking of that. But I would say Bentancur as well as Romero, people are saying, how maybe the winners, but that speaks to it, everybody. Those are two players we just brought in this season that are bigger winners than the rest of the squad that have been at this club for quite a long time, which says, I think it says an unbelievable amount. But David, maybe final question, just to kind of wrap up, everything that we've really covered today. Do you think Conte is ready to stick around with Spurs, or do you feel like it will be a familiar story of another fallout and swift exit for this manager? Do you think he'll go down the same path, the same sort of story that the rest of the managers before him will? Or do you think maybe it might be different this time and he'll actually stick around and maybe we'll see a Conte sort of, I don't know, era or a regime?
Do you know what,
Don't
Jack?
end on a dampener. Do not end on a dampener, Dave. Whatever you say.
I'm going to be honest here. Look, what I want to believe is that Conte is going to stick around. You know what I mean? And that he's going to see this through. But I'll be honest with you. I think you're going to see the same thing that's happened under Jose and the same thing that's happened under Pochettino. Let's get real here. The club is the one that set top four as the bar. That's what cost Jose his job. That's what cost Pochettino his job. It probably could end up costing Antonio Conte his job. Look, you're looking at a situation where after today, Dortmund would probably be looking for a manager in the summer. You're going to be looking at Man United, who will probably be looking at a manager in the summer. If you think that Newcastle aren't going to come calling with the money they have to offer him to do a rebuild, I think we're sadly mistaken. And there's going to be other big clubs around world football that'll all be looking for a manager this summer. Now, out of the top best 5 managers in world football, who's the most gettable? It's Antonio Conte.
Conte, yeah.
Because he's at Tottenham. He's unhappy with the squad. If Tottenham don't do it his way, he's the most achievable.
Yeah.
It's harder to get Poch out of PSG. He's an ex-player there. You're not going to get Guardiola from City. You're not going to get Klopp from Liverpool. Who's the next best manager who you actually generally have a chance? And it's Antonio Conte. It's that simple. I cannot sit here and say that he is going to sit here and see through this rebuild. For all we know, he could be pissed off come the summer. He can end up walking, or else the board can end up sacking him because he didn't get top 4. One or the other. It's definitely a possibility. But when you have United come calling with big money, you have Newcastle come calling with big money, you have Dortmund, who will probably sell Haaland this summer, who will be calling with big money. You think he's going to stick around at Tottenham and want to train Harry Winks, Ben Davies and Sanchez every single week to try and be better when he knows he can just go to another club and buy in the players he wants? He's out of here. He is a winner, man. Winners are absolutely ruthless. If you think he's sticking around at Tottenham Hotspur because he loves the club the way we do, you're even more deluded than me, and that's impossible. But this guy is not sticking around at Tottenham. He's a winner. Winners are ruthless, and he will walk, given the first opportunity, the right opportunity. He's out of here. Unless we sit him down, we say, Antonio, there's guaranteed money here this summer. Stick with us, and he probably will stay. But if he doesn't see that, he's not sitting down around here watching Davinson Sanchez make mistakes week in, week out, Watch his midfield be overrun because you have Wanky instead of Winky in there. You know what I mean? He's not going to watch our down the sides being burned because players can't defend. He's gone out here. He's just going to buy defenders that can defend, and he's going to win trophies again. There's only so long a manager will stay that's used to winning trophies and buzzes off that winning feeling and relishes that winning feeling. There's only so long he's going to stay away from that. The first opportunity that is presented where he sees that, he's gone again. Simple. Yep. That's what winners do. At Tottenham, we're not ready for winners. Whether you like it or not, Jose was a winner. We weren't ready for him. We didn't want to do it his way. Are we going to learn our lesson here under Antonio Conte? Well, this summer will tell us everything.
This summer will tell us everything, Dave, but I hate to disappoint you. I think I am maybe more deluded than you because I would maybe think that, Conte might actually put himself through that pain all over again with Sanchez and those players. I'd like to think he would, but maybe I'm not crazy. But James, Spurs related. Thank you so much for joining us, James. Absolutely putting a huge shift in. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your evening. What can people find over at Spurs related, my man?
Yeah, no worries. I actually just looked. I can't believe it's been 2.5 hours. It's been absolute
pleasure. Christ.
That's been an absolute pleasure talking to you both. And obviously, Shane earlier, might as well call him Sean from now on because he got slightly annoyed about that. But no, it's pleasure as always, guys. And Spurs related. Please go and subscribe. We do pretty much daily content over there. We do. We do match reviews, match previews, tactical analysis, fan phone-in shows on a Friday, which is coming tomorrow, where even anyone in this chat right now can come over tomorrow at 7 p.m. We get random fans on to talk about everything related to Tottenham. And even if you just want a 5-minute rant, you can come on. We send you the StreamYard and you come on and have a bit of a laugh. And then on after games, we review the game. Again, if we lose against City on Saturday, hopefully we don't, but you can obviously come and rant there and we can talk about what went wrong or hopefully what went right and how we're so buzzing with the win at the Etihad Stadium. Can you imagine? I've just seen a flying pig. But then on Sunday, we got a quiz night. It's going to have these two legends above me within one of the teams, and then they're playing Tottenham on tour. We've made an incredible quiz. We spent a lot of time doing it. We've made good graphics for it. It's going to be great fun. So if there's one reason to get over to Spurs related out of all the stuff I just said, it's the quiz on Sunday to watch these guys have an absolute battle. 7 o'clock Sunday. Do not miss it. Please come over and subscribe.
And I'll be honest with you, lad. We're set up for failure here, to be honest with you, James. I probably should have wrote to you about this beforehand. But credit to Dago. I mean, the guy remembers everything that he's watched in his lifetime. You know what I mean? You ask him about things. Yeah, that's so-and-so day. This player scored that and the other. We're set up for failure. But I want to retain my crown, lad. I want to retain it. I am the Spurs-related king, lad.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You were on such a high after that quiz win. I remember you going on to like 2 shows after. And before you even said hello to everyone, you were going, Spurs-related quiz of the year, 2021 champion. And that was a great laugh as well. That was an absolute brilliant laugh. And Andre's actually excited to be co-hosting with me this time rather than involved in the quiz because last time he got absolutely annihilated in a relegation battle. I think it was Jack.
Yeah, it was with me. Yeah, so I was able to scrape by. I pulled a Newcastle-like recovery actually out of the bottom actually.
But guys, honestly, I promise you it will be an absolute laugh. Like we were in tears at times last time. And the quiz on Sunday, 7 p.m. It will be a great laugh if... I don't want to say it, but if we lose on Saturday, what a laugh we can have afterwards. So that's to look forward to.
Yeah, no, it's perfect therapy. With what we're going through right now, it's perfect therapy. Sit back, something a bit lighthearted, something a bit fun. So everybody, 7:30, make sure you're there. But do not forget that fan show tomorrow. I will be popping on for a little bit myself. So come over and join us, guys.
Everybody head on over to the fan show tomorrow and join them as well for also, I believe, their match review for the Man City game, as well as also for Sunday for the quiz show. Everybody do head on over to Spurs related. 2 different links that you can't miss in there. Do get them over to 700, everybody. But Moondog in here, he says, I have heard that Billy Smart's circus wants to buy Sanchez and Winks, Dave. It has been the clown show recently, so not even the circus, Dave, just probably the clown brigade in general would want to buy them.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you, the circus probably don't even want them if they can't deal with the pressure, at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when their feet are on the ground. God knows how they're going to deal with the pressure if they have to do some of the acrobatics or stuff off the ground. So the circus probably won't even want them, to be honest with you. You know,
well, can you imagine? GPS Sanchez trying to do the tightrope? He can't even like walk on ground.
They wouldn't get insurance. They wouldn't get insurance to allow him to try it, lad. You know, if you can't deal with things when his feet are on the ground, he definitely won't get insurance to be able to try the tightrope. And Harry Winks will probably just crumble anyway. So circus probably won't even want the Moondog, to be honest with you. I think we're going to have to give them away. I think we're going to have to turn into Tottenham Hotspur charity or something like that and just give them away at this point, my man. But big up, Moondog. Big yourself up, brother. Legend.
Big up, Moondog. Legend.
Jack,
absolute legend.
You are so close to the big 1K, man.
Yeah, I saw this.
So close. Tell people what to expect, why they need to get over there to subscribe, brother.
Will do, Dave. I mean, we got plenty of time to get there. It's honestly been absolutely flying, but everybody really, really, really close to 1K on the second channel on Flat Cap Euro Talk. Just released a video recently on just did a talent sort of scout report on all of the best talents outside of Europe's top 5 leagues this season. Just took a look at a bunch of young players who are having really good seasons in the Eredivisie, in the Belgian Jupiler Pro League, and like the Austrian Bundesliga, a bunch of kind of stuff like that. Really just took a look at a lot of players that, maybe aren't household names, sort of young players that really you should take a look at. Plenty of more videos coming out when it comes to Champions League watch-alongs and things like that. Also just plenty of content coming out. Really have a lot of ideas, out there. Really have enjoyed all the support I've received so far. But in terms of at least recent videos, everybody do check on out that your talents outside Europe's top 5 leagues. Lots more to come out, especially when it comes to Champions League watch-alongs and whatnot. But everybody, so close to 1,000, really would appreciate support. And I'm already so thankful for the support that I've already received, everybody, Harris Army. But appreciate it, Dave.
Do you know what? It's absolutely incredible that we're nearly at 1,000 over there. It is unbelievable. It just goes to show how much, you really do value Jack and his time and his dedication to this channel. So I really appreciate it to everybody who has gone over there and subscribed from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate it. But look, we're at the final hurdle. Make up an account for your goldfish, your couch, your telly, whatever it may be. Make up an account and smash that subscribe button. And let's get it over to 1,000.
20 needed.
Honestly, Jack didn't even believe it was possible. He did not believe it was possible. So let's get over there and show him that dreams can happen. Smash that subscribe button, everybody. We'll take a few more comments and then we are bouncing out of here. The Outlad's in the building. Big up that. He says, Winks is good at the tightrope. Ask Levy. 100%. I know what you're getting at as well. Potter Mac says, Kane tattoo on your ass if we make top 4, Dave. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even need a bet to get a Kane tattoo, to be honest with you. I'd just go and get one because I love the guy. I'd probably get a nice one across the chest or something. I don't think this is to be too happy. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I love Harry more than her. So, I don't need to be persuaded to get a Harry Kane tattoo. That's just a normal day for me, my man. But big yourself up. Ellie says, James, you're the man. Love your show. And for a young lad, you're fabulous. So keep on doing what you do.
Appreciate it, Ellie. Big up. Probably see you on the fan show tomorrow.
She'll be there 100%.
Yeah, she loves it.
Unless her daughters are swinging her off for a meal somewhere. Mazid says, great show, guys. Enjoyed it as always. 164 Spurs says, great show tonight. King Hoddle also says, come on, you Spurs. At least we aren't gooners. Exactly, King Hoddle. Always the positive, my man. Welsh Gal says, like and subscribe. Do yourself a favor. Big up Welsh Gal. We also have Leon. Great show as usual. Big up yourselves. I'm going for 2-1 and win against City. Absolutely love it. Shalou saying to get me clipped. Rockstar 90 says no Manscaped tonight. That's why we are here. No, Rockstar, it's tomorrow, my man. Tomorrow is the Manscaped plug. And we actually have the show coming up with the two Brians. It's the collaboration.
Yep. Stay tuned for that tomorrow, everybody.
So we're saving it. We're saving it for that. And then we'll be we'll probably roll it out again Saturday at some stage as well. But guys, for that Tottenham on tour, actually, there's a piece up in the community section where we want your questions. We want to be able to incorporate you guys into what we're doing going forward. So we want your questions. So if you have any questions, whether you want to know more about myself, Jack, the two Brians, or anyone from Tottenham on tour, or whether you have Spurs-related questions that you want us to answer, get them in that community chat, and we will get them to the panelists tomorrow. As well, you can also admire my picture in front of Ledley King as well. I think that's great. In all honesty, I might actually get it framed. I might get it printed out and framed.
I love that photo.
The missus will probably give out because I don't even have pictures of her up, but that picture probably will go up. But look, everybody, absolutely really do appreciate the support, guys. Really, really do appreciate it. You have no idea how much it means to us, and you have no idea how much you inspire me and Jack every single day to keep doing what we're doing. These channels are absolutely not with you guys, the viewers out there. And look, that's something I realized from the word get-go. So I really do appreciate every single one of you. You're all legends. The journey that myself and Jack has been on has been absolutely incredible, and we don't want it to stop anytime soon. So just keep spreading the word of the Irish Hotspur. If anyone ever does want to get in contact and speak to myself and Jack, everything is below that you need for social medias and everything else to be able to communicate with us. Whatever you want, get it in there. We're always open and accessible as well. But most importantly, guys, make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button if you are new. And once this is finished, get in the chat, put in a comment. It really does help with the algorithm. Look, you can call me the biggest bollocks on planet Earth. I do not mind. Just get in there, put a comment in. It's a massive, massive help. As always, guys, a massive thank you for tuning in. A massive thank you for the financial support. You have no idea how much it really does help me and Jack. And a massive thank you to any new subscribers out there as well. I know times are bad. And look, I have more reason to be pissed off than anybody. I paid to go and watch that shit at the weekend. But no matter what, come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust.
Hey, Conte we trust. Come on, you Spurs.
Hey!